Shun Qingzi, you good for nothing. You wouldn't last 3 days without me. He leaned back in his leather chair, a condescending smirk playing on his lips, as if looking at an ant that didn't know its place. I said nothing, just bent down to pick up the papers scattered all over the floor. The resignation letter bore my handwritten signature, dated today, 3 years and 17 days, with a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan, during which I generated 1 billion yuan in profit for the company. As I silently calculated that number, I suddenly felt like laughing. Zhao Hongyuan rose from his adjacent desk, coffee cup in hand, and strolled over to me. Deliberately raising his voice, he said, "Engineer Shun, to be honest, if I hadn't been overseeing those 3 projects from behind the scenes, you would have messed them up long ago. Young people should know how to be grateful." I looked up at the man in his 40s, whose hairline had receded 3 years ago, when he had begged me, on bended knees, to take over his first failed project. He had said, "Engineer Shun, I really don't understand this project. Please help me draft the proposal, just put my name on it." Now, standing before the chairman, he was playing the role of a mentor. There were more than 20 colleagues in the office. Some kept their heads down, pretending to be busy with work, while others stole glances at me, their expressions complex. The senior colleagues who had been with me when I first joined had gradually been forced out by Zhao Hongyuan. Most of those now seated were his people, and the occasional new faces looked at me as if watching a joke. I didn't explain. Instead, I opened the drawer, took out my ID badge, which read Investment Banking Department Senior Specialist Shun Qingzi. The word senior had only been added to the title last month, after the Labor Inspection Brigade had conducted an audit, stating that denying promotion for 3 years was already suspected of being illegal. I placed the ID badge on Wang Zhongwo's desk, with just enough force to produce a crisp snap. "Chairman Wang, I will buy this company in 5 years. I said this calmly, as if commenting on the weather. The office fell silent for a moment, then Zhao Hongyuan laughed, loudly, deliberately for everyone to hear. Wang Zhongwo laughed too, tilting his head back to reveal his yellowish teeth. "Did you hear that? She says she's going to buy my company." Wang Zhongwo stood up, slapping the table. "Do you have any idea how much I'm worth? You don't, because employees like you at the bottom never get to see the real business world." I said nothing more and turned to walk toward the door. Zhao Hongyuan stepped forward to catch up. "Shun Qingzi, submit the handover report to my email before tonight. All project documents, client information, and proposal templates. Absolutely nothing can be missing." I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. "Mr. Zhao, I will submit the handover report," I said, "but there are some things you might not want others to see." Zhao Hongyuan's smile froze for a second. I opened my phone, clicked into my email, and scrolled to a message from March last year. It was an internal directive from Zhao Hongyuan to me, for that unfinished building in Shengheng East District. "The assessed value is 1.2 billion. You draft the proposal based on 800 million, and keep the extra 400 million in the department budget. I have other plans for it." I read it aloud, my voice not loud, but every corner of the office could hear it. Zhao Hongyuan nearly dropped his coffee cup. Wang Zhongwo was also stunned. He clearly hadn't known about this. I didn't continue reading. I turned off my phone and said to Zhao Hongyuan, "I've backed up this email 30 times. Don't worry, Mr. Zhao. I'll write the handover report in great detail." The entire department fell silent as I stepped out of the office. I heard Zhao Hongyuan's voice lowered in a roar behind me, along with Wang Zhongwo's grim questioning. "How much have you been hiding from me?" I didn't look back. I walked into the elevator and pressed the button for the first floor. The moment the elevator doors closed, I let out a long breath. For the first time in 3 years, I felt at ease at Shengheng. Stepping out of the building, the autumn wind brushed against my face with a chill. I took out my phone to hail a ride, but the screen suddenly lit up with a text message from an unknown number. "Shun Qingzi, Dingshan Capital has been waiting for you for 3 days." I stared at the words Dingshan Capital, and my heart skipped a beat. That was Shengheng's biggest competitor. Its founder, Lin Wanqing, known in the industry as the Manda Queen, had been severely damaged 5 years ago when Wang Zhongwo and Zhao Hongyuan conspired against her. She had since vanished from public view. Those in the circle said she was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to make a comeback. I put my phone back in my pocket and hailed a taxi. "Where to?" the driver asked. "Dingshan Capital Headquarters." I said. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror, probably thinking it was odd to go to a place like that at this hour. I ignored him, leaned back in the seat, and pictured Wang Zhongwo's face from earlier, along with the slight curve of his mouth when he called me a good-for-nothing. 3 years and 17 days. I remember this time very clearly. Chapter 2, Buying Your Company in 5 Years. The headquarters of Dingshan Capital is located in the city's financial center. The entire building is covered in glass curtain walls, glaring brightly under the sunlight. When I walked in, the young woman at the front desk had clearly been waiting for a long time. She took me straight to the top floor. As the elevator doors opened, I saw a space that looked nothing like an office. One entire wall was floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of the city's skyline. To the left was an open concept book lounge, and to the right, a massive digital screen displayed real-time trading data from global capital markets. Lin Wanqing was sitting on the sofa, drinking tea. She was 45, with short hair and a sharply tailored black suit. There were no accessories on her wrists except for an old model Patek Philippe. Her gaze was direct, as if conducting due diligence, sweeping over me from head to toe, before she gestured to the sofa opposite her. Sit down. I didn't sit. Standing, I said. Mr. Lin, did you send that text message? Yes. She set down her teacup. I've been investigating you for 3 months. I've reviewed the due diligence reports for every project you've handled at Shengheng. My heart skipped a beat, but my expression remained unchanged. Then President Lin should be aware of my situation at Shengheng. Got it. Lin Wanqing stood up, walked over to the digital screen, and opened a folder containing detailed data from the 7 projects I had worked on. The unfinished building in the East District was acquired for 80 million. And after your renovation, its valuation reached 230 million. The logistics park in the western suburbs had a debt of 150 million when you took over, but after introducing supply chain finance, its valuation rose to 420 million. And that shopping mall, she turned to look at me. In every project, your proposals have avoided the traditional logic of non-performing asset disposal, opting instead for value reconstruction. I've reviewed many people's proposals, and you are the first one who truly caught my eye. My heart raced, but my face remained calm. So, when Mr. Lin asked me to come here, he wanted me to do things on your behalf, right? Lin Wanqing smiled, quite candidly. I have 3 projects here that Shengheng has completely botched. Give me a turnaround plan within 72 hours, and I'll hire you at double your current salary. She turned on the projector, and 3 documents appeared on the screen. All of them were failures handled by Shengheng Capital over the past 2 years. With total losses exceeding 600 million yuan, the industry knew it was Wang Zhongwo and Zhao Hongyuan who had messed things up together. I walked over, carefully read through every page, and then turned off the projector. Mr. Lin, I don't accept this kind of interview. Lin Wanqing raised an eyebrow. I want a partnership status, a 20% profit share from the project, and independent authority over team personnel and budget approval, I said, enunciating each word clearly. These 3 points are non-negotiable. Not a single one can be compromised. Lin Wanqing stared at me for 5 seconds, then smiled. The laughter was loud, echoing through the empty office. That fool Wang Zhongwo, she said between laughs, actually threw away diamonds thinking they were glass. She walked over to the desk, pulled out 2 documents, and handed them to me. Take a look at this. I took them. It was a performance-based agreement. Dingshan Capital was establishing a new special assets department, and I would serve as the department head and partner. The base salary was 20 times what I earned at Shengheng, with a 20% project profit share. However, within 1 year, I had to complete profitable exits for at least 3 projects. Otherwise, I would leave with nothing and compensate Dingshan for their initial investment of 5 million. I picked up the pen and signed. Lin Wanqing nodded in satisfaction. I like straightforward people. Start work tomorrow. You can hire your own team, and I won't set a budget cap. Just as she was about to say more, my phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from my former colleague, Xiao Ju, Sister Qingzi. Something huge has happened. Zhao Hongyuan was working overtime tonight. He modified all the files of the proposals you've created over the past 3 years, changed the authorship to his name, and deleted the original versions. I handed my phone to Lin Wanqing to look at. After reading it, the smile on her face disappeared. This person Even if he doesn't die, he'll be skinned alive. No need for you to take action. I took back my phone. He will reap what he sows. I replied to Xiao Ju on my phone. Do me a favor. Send me screenshots of all the times and operation records when the files were modified. Xiao Ju replied instantly. Already on it. And I also found out that Zhao Hongyuan didn't just change yours. He also altered Wang Dao's, Li Shui's, Old Zhong's proposals, and replaced them all with his own name. The corners of my mouth lifted, thank goodness for cloud backups, and for my 3-year-long obsessive-compulsive habit of encrypting and backing up every proposal, every email, and every meeting recording. I dialed into a group video chat, which included the 7 core team members I had mentored over the past 3 years. Wang Dao, Li Shui, Old Zhong, Xiao Ju, Ajie, Xiao Wen, and Brother Chen. They are all entry-level employees at Shengheng, with the highest monthly salary being just 5,000 yuan, yet they handle the most critical work in the entire company. Each of them has had their achievements stolen by Zhao Hongyuan, been ignored by Wang Zhongwo, and endured enough frustration in this company. The video call connected, with 7 faces crowded on the screen, each wearing a different expression. Qingzi, are we really going to do this? Wang Dao asked. He was the most skilled data analyst, but his monthly salary had never exceeded 4,500 yuan in 5 years. I'll give you 3 options, I said, raising my fingers. First, stay at Shengheng and continue to be exploited by Zhao Hongyuan. Second, find new jobs on your own and start from scratch again. Third, work with me. Your base salary will triple, and you'll receive a 10% share of project profits. Within a year, I guarantee each of you will see your income increase tenfold. 3 seconds of silence, then the group chat exploded. I'm in. Sister Qingzi, I've wanted to leave with you for a long time. Not one of the 7 hesitated. I closed the video and noticed Lin Wanqing watching me with great interest. These 7 people you took with you, she asked, how much are they worth? The most valuable asset of Shengheng isn't their projects, it's the brains of these 7 people, I said. Zhao Hongyuan doesn't know, and Wang Zhongwo certainly doesn't either. Lin Wanqing stood up, walked to the window, and turned her back to me. Wang Zhongwo is holding a press conference tomorrow to announce that all your projects were done by Zhao Hongyuan. What are you going to do? I looked out at the city lights and smiled. That's perfect, it saves me the trouble of finding another occasion. Chapter 3, The Person I Will Take Away. At 2 a.m. I was still in my apartment organizing backup files. My phone screen lit up and dimmed repeatedly, filled with screenshots sent by Xiao Ju. All of Zhao Hongyuan's operations on the server were clearly documented. The timestamps for renaming files, traces of deleting the original files, and the forged timestamps. I packaged all of these into 3 different cloud drives, copied them onto 2 USB flash drives. One kept in my bag, the other sent to the notary office. This isn't making a mountain out of a molehill. In the workplace, evidence is a weapon, far more effective than any harsh words. At 3 a.m., Xiao Ju sent another message. Sister Qingzi, Zhao Hongyuan just had the IT department wipe all the server logs. I typed back. Did you take screenshots? I did, and I found out that Xiao Lin from the IT department secretly backed up a copy. He said he's had enough of Zhao Hongyuan too and is willing to testify. I smiled. Before the tree falls, the monkeys always catch the scent in advance. The next day at 9 in the morning, the press conference began on schedule. I didn't attend in person. Instead, I had Wang Dao and Old Zhong take the notary public representatives and Ding Xin's legal team. I only needed to join remotely and make an appearance at the critical moment. Wang Dao sent me a live feed, a 5-star hotel banquet hall, with red carpets laid out and flowers arranged, and a large screen at the center displaying Shengheng Capital Annual Strategic Launch Conference and Outstanding Contribution Award Ceremony. Wang Zhongwo stood on stage, exuding confidence and vigor. Over the past year, Shengheng Capital has achieved remarkable success in the field of non-performing asset disposal, revitalizing 7 stalled projects and generating profits exceeding 1 billion yuan. All of this would not have been possible without the exceptional leadership of our investment banking department director, Zhao Hongyuan. Zhao Hongyuan, dressed in a sharp suit, walked onto the stage, accepted the trophy, and smiled like a successful entrepreneur. The applause from the audience was thunderous, but it was all orchestrated by Shengheng himself. consisting of media personnel and insiders he had personally invited. Thank you, Chairman Wang, for your trust, and thank you to the team for their dedication. Zhao Hongyang spoke into the microphone. These 7 projects were each personally managed and closely supervised by me. I pressed the talk button, and my voice echoed through the venue's sound system. Director Zhao, are you certain you personally managed them? The entire room fell silent. The large screen suddenly switched, showing a scene of me sitting in the Dingshin office. Wang Zhongwo's face changed abruptly. Shen Qingxi, how did you? Don't worry, Chairman Wang. I'm here today to deliver a gift, I said with a smile. A big gift for CEO Zhao. The screen began playing a recording 3 years ago. Zhao Hongyuan's voice was crystal clear. Engineer Shen, I really don't understand the project in the Eastern District. You help me with the plan. Just put my name on it, and you won't be short of benefits. Then came the second segment, Engineer Shen. For that logistics park in the western suburbs, just do as I say. Anyway, Chairman Wang doesn't understand these things. Let's get the money first and worry about the rest later. The third segment, Shen Qingxi, who do you think you are? No matter how good your plan is, the name on it must be mine. That's the rule. 3 recordings, each clearer than the last, each more explosive than the last. Zhao Hongyuan's face turned from pale to red, then to black, nearly dropping the trophy in his hand. Wang Zhongwo gripped the microphone tightly, veins bulging on his neck. These recordings are all fabricated. Zhao Hongyuan suddenly roared. Shen Qingxi, you leaked company secrets. I've already called the police. He pulled out his phone and actually dialed 110. I remained calm. Calling the police is perfect. Let them see your records of tampering with the files. The scenes captured by Xiao Ju appeared on the large screen, complete with timestamps, IP addresses, and operation logs. Nothing was missing. Zhao Hongyuan's phone fell to the floor. Wang Zhongwo finally spoke. His voice hoarse. Security. Get this crazy woman out of here. As soon as he finished speaking, Dingshin's legal team entered through the side door, led by the renowned litigation lawyer Fang Yuan. Chairman Wang, we are here on behalf of MS Shen Qingxi to submit evidence. Fang Yuan handed the USB drive to the police on site. This contains all the evidence of Mr. Zhao Hongyuan tampering with company documents and suspected embezzlement. Please handle it according to the law. The media on site went wild, snapping photos frantically. I looked at Wang Zhongwo's livid face on the screen and smiled calmly. Chairman Wang, General Manager Zhao, take your time. I have other matters to attend to. Before ending the video call, I heard Zhao Hongyuan shouting, she's framing me, it's all a setup. Then Wang Zhongwo roared, shut up. The meeting ended. Half an hour later, Wang Dao sent me a message. Zhao Hongyuan was taken away by the police for investigation. Wang Zhongwo was urgently summoned by the board of directors, and Shengheng's stock price began to fall. 10 minutes later, a call came in from an unknown number. Shen Qingxi, it was Wang Zhongwo's voice. Tired, angry, and with a hint of panic I'd never heard before. Come back, the director position, an annual salary of 2 million. And we'll wipe the slate clean. Too late, I said. What do you really want? I looked out the window. The sunlight was just right. Chairman Wang, do you remember what I said when I left? In 5 years, I will buy your company. You're dreaming. Then wait and see. I hung up the phone. The phone rang again. It was Lin Wanqing. Well done, she said with a smile, but I know Wang Zhongwo well. He won't let this go. Next, he'll definitely use every means possible to shut you down. I know, I said. So the first thing I need to do is intercept his most profitable project. Lin Wanqing was silent for 2 seconds, then smiled. You're going to move on the Shengheng Technology Industrial Park project. Yes, I said, I have a complete proposal for that project, which Zhao Hongyuan initially vetoed. Now, it's time to bring it into the light. Chapter 4, the press conference goes sideways. The bidding conference for the Technology Industrial Park is scheduled for Friday morning. It's a hot potato. 3 years ago, the developer absconded, leaving behind 6 unfinished buildings and a debt of 200 million yuan. The government is eager to find someone to take over, but several investment institutions have turned it down, deeming it worthless. Shengheng offered 200 million yuan, planning to demolish the buildings and sell the land to make a quick profit. I disagree with this proposal. On Thursday night, I stayed with the team at Dingshin. Working overtime until the early hours of the morning, 7 of us were crammed into the conference room, with flowcharts covering the whiteboard and over 30 pages of due diligence reports spread out on the table. The location of the industrial park is actually quite good. Within a 3-kilometer radius, there are 3 top-tier hospitals, and within 5 kilometers, there are 7 universities, Wang Dao said, pointing at the map. If we go with traditional commercial development, we'll definitely lose money. But if we pivot to a medical care integration model, exactly, I said, drawing a circle on the paper with a red pen, we can convert 2 of the buildings into rehabilitation hospitals, 1 into a senior living apartment, and the rest into an incubator for medical supply chains. The government is currently pushing hard for medical care integration, so this direction could qualify for policy subsidies and tax incentives. Li Shui did the math, with renovation and operations. The total investment is controlled within 180 million. If the investment attraction goes smoothly, the valuation could reach 500 million within 3 years. Then it's settled, I said, closing my laptop. Tomorrow is the bidding. I want Wang Zhongwo to see with his own eyes what real value restructuring means. At 9 o'clock on Friday morning, the bidding meeting began on time. The venue was the conference room of the management committee in the technology park. On either side of the rectangular table sat government representatives, industry experts, and several bidding agencies. The Shengheng team sat on the left, led personally by Wang Zhongwo. Although Zhao Hongyuan had been bailed out, he looked terrible, with bloodshot eyes. The person from Dingshan sat on the right. I took the main seat, with the legal and financial representatives sent by Lin Wanqing beside me. The government representative was a female leader in her 40s, surnamed Zhu, who spoke very directly. Everyone, please present your proposals in order. Shengheng, you go first. Wang Zhongwo stood up, opened the PowerPoint, and spoke in a loud voice. Shengheng's proposal is simple. Offer 200 million to acquire all property rights, demolish the existing buildings, change the land use to commercial and residential, and achieve land value appreciation within 2 years. He spoke convincingly, with detailed data and logical coherence, following the standard buy low, sell high approach. But I know this plan has a fatal flaw. Changing the land use designation takes at least 3 years. And the government has recently tightened control over residential land approvals, so it's highly unlikely to get approved. Sure enough, after listening, Representative Zhu frowned and didn't express an opinion. Now it's my turn. I stood up, without a PowerPoint, and only handed a printed report to each judge. The Dingshan proposal is divided into 3 steps, I said. First, we offer 180 million for the acquisition, 20 million less than Shengheng, but we won't demolish the building. Instead, we'll renovate it into a medical care integrated complex. The room fell silent. Wang Zhongwo laughed. Shen Qingxi, are you joking? That location is in the middle of nowhere, a medical care facility. Who would go there, without looking at him? I continued. Second, we've already reached preliminary cooperation agreements with 3 top-tier hospitals. They will establish rehabilitation hospital sections there. Additionally, the municipal government has just introduced supportive policies for medical care integration, and our project qualifies for a renovation subsidy of 800 yuan per square meter. Zhao Hongyuan sneered. What's a letter of intent? We've got a pile of them too. You can print those out online for free. I turned on my phone and played a video in which the presidents of the 3 hospitals personally confirmed the cooperation. Zhao Hongyuan's smile froze. Third, I said, looking at Representative Zhu, we are willing to establish a joint venture with the government. After the project becomes profitable, the government will receive a 20% share of the profits, and upon asset securitization, priority will be given to ensuring the supply of local medical resources. Representative Zhu's eyes lit up. This was a condition that Shengheng would never dare to propose, as they were after short-term windfall profits and could not possibly allow the government to take a share. Wang Zhongwo's expression had grown quite grim, but he still tried to resist. Representative Zhu, Shen Qingxi just recently resigned from our company. Her abilities are average, and the team she leads consists entirely of low-level employees who are fundamentally incapable of handling such a large-scale project. I looked at the 7 members of the team. They all sat upright, their gazes resolute. Representative Zhu, I have some data here. I handed over another report of the 13 industrial park projects Shungheng has undertaken in the past 5 years. 8 have operated at a loss, 3 barely broke even, and only 2 were profitable. In contrast, Dinshin has achieved a success rate of 90% in similar projects over the past 3 years. Wang Zhongwo suddenly stood up. Shenqingxi, you're making false accusations. The data is all public. Chairman Wang can verify it himself, I said calmly. At that moment, the conference room door opened, and 3 people walked in. The entire room was stunned. Those were 3 top-tier medical care experts recognized by the industry. It was usually difficult to invite even one, yet today, 3 had arrived. Leading the group was Professor Zhong, the retired former president of Peking Union Medical College Hospital. He walked straight up to Representative Zhu and said, "Xiao Zhu, I've reviewed the proposal for this project, and it's highly innovative. Our hospital is willing to engage in deep cooperation, providing medical technology and talent support." Wang Zhongwo's face turned completely dark. Zhao Hongyuan wanted to say something more, but Wang Zhongwo held him back firmly. Representative Zhu stood up, smiling, and said, "Thank you all for your proposals. After discussion by the expert review panel, we have decided that the Science and Technology Industrial Park project will be managed by Dingshan Capital." Wang Jianjun abruptly stood up. "This is unfair. Our bid was higher." Representative Zhu glanced at him. "Director Wang, we are not looking for the highest price, but the best proposal." The bidding meeting concluded. As he walked out of the meeting room, Wang Zhongwo caught up and lowered his voice, saying, "Shenqingxi, don't get too smug. You won't be able to handle this project, and when the time comes, don't come crying back to me." I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. "Chairman Wang, do you know why Zhao Hongyuan has never been promoted? Because all he knows how to do is make empty promises, while I can actually deliver results." Wang Zhongwo's lips trembled with anger. Zhao Hongyuan chimed in from the side, "Shenqingxi, just you wait. I'll make sure you can't survive in this industry." I laughed. "Mr. Zhao, you should handle your own lawsuit first, defamation plus embezzlement." The lawyer said it's at least 3 years. The 2 of them left with grim faces. Lin Wanqing sent me a message, "Well done." But Wang Zhongwo won't give up. He's put all his chips on another project, which is worth 5 billion. If he wins, we'll have to give back everything we've won so far, I replied. "Then let's make him lose completely." Chapter 5. Countersuing you for defamation. On the afternoon of the day the bidding session ended, Zhao Hongyuan actually called the police. The charge was stealing trade secrets, with the reason being Shenqingxi used Shungheng's internal data to prepare the bidding proposal. The police did come, but not to arrest me. They were here to gather information. In the mediation room, Zhao Hongyuan sat opposite me, his eyes red, with his lawyer beside him. A well-dressed middle-aged man whose eyes, however, were anything but honest. My lawyer was sent by Lin Wanqing, Fang Yuan, one of the top commercial litigation lawyers in the industry. The moment he spoke, it was clear he was no pushover. "Officers, all the data used by my client, MS Shenqingxi, came from public sources, including government-published information, financial reports of listed companies, and industry research reports." Fang Yuan handed over a stack of documents. "We have clearly marked the source of each piece of data. None of it is internal data from Shungheng Capital." Zhao Hongyuan grew agitated. "That's impossible. The evaluation data for those projects of hers were clearly only available within our company." I laughed. "Mr. Zhao, are you referring to that internal evaluation report from Shungheng? That report was incorrect, which is why you lost so much money. I used the corrected data, sourced from the government's publicly available bidding documents." Zhao Hongyuan opened his mouth but couldn't speak. The police officer reviewed the materials, asked me a few more questions, then turned to Zhao Hongyuan and said, "Mr. Zhao, there is currently no evidence to suggest that MS Shen stole any trade secrets. Your report lacks factual basis." Zhao Hongyuan abruptly stood up. "She must have stolen it. There's no way she could have known such details." Fang Yuan unhurriedly pulled out 2 more documents from his briefcase. "Officers, we also have some materials here, Mr. Zhao Hongyuan. The director of the investment banking department at Shungheng Capital is suspected of misappropriating 8 million yuan in departmental funds, as well as evidence of accepting kickbacks from partners." Zhao Hongyuan's Face instantly turned pale. You're lying. Fang Yuan spread the documents open. This is the bank statement, this is the transfer record, and this is the testimony from the partners. Every piece of evidence is verifiable. I stood up and looked at Zhao Hongyuan. Mr. Zhao, you called the police to accuse me of stealing trade secrets. I'll countersue you for defamation and embezzlement. Let's see who can't hold out longer. Zhao Hongyuan's lawyer's expression was equally grim. He leaned in and whispered a few words into Zhao's ear, causing Zhao's body to begin trembling. The police officers separated the two parties, stating that further investigation was required. As we stepped out of the mediation room, Zhao Hongyuan suddenly rushed over, pointing at me. Shen Qingzi, you'll regret this. You've offended Chairman Wang. Don't even think about continuing in this industry. I looked at him and suddenly felt that this person was quite pitiful. He had been at Shengheng for 12 years. Climbing from an ordinary employee to a director position not through ability, but through flattery and networking. All his energy was spent on how to undermine others, how to take credit, and how to prevent others from surpassing him. Never once did he think about improving himself, so when someone truly capable appeared, his only reaction was to destroy them. Director Zhao, I said, do you know why you can never manage projects well? Because you never believe that someone could genuinely be better than you. Zhao Hongyuan's expression changed. His lips trembled a few times, but he ultimately said nothing. He turned and walked away, moving quickly, as if afraid I would see what was in his eyes. I returned to Dingshan, where Lin Wanqing was waiting for me in the office. Wang Zhongwo was questioned by the board of directors this afternoon. She handed me a cup of coffee. The three major shareholders are very dissatisfied with him, saying he has messed up the company, but he is a major shareholder, so he can't be removed in the short term. It's fine. I took a sip of coffee. Once he loses 2 more projects, the shareholders will naturally make him leave. Lin Wanqing looked at me, her eyes holding an emotion I couldn't quite read. Shen Qingzi, have you ever thought about what Wang Zhongwo might do to you if you really end up collapsing Shengheng one day? I set down my coffee cup. Director Lin, are you worried I won't be able to handle it? I'm worried you're too young to understand how treacherous the business world can be. She walked over to the window. Wang Zhongwo is the kind of person who would do anything for profit. Back then, I trusted him too much, and he ended up costing me 300 million. I stayed silent for a few seconds, then said, Mr. Lin, when he offered me a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan 3 years ago, I already knew what kind of person he was. That's why I stayed at Shengheng for 3 years, not because I had no way out, but because I was waiting for an opportunity, one that would allow me to make him settle his debt in one go. Lin Wanqing turned to look at me and smiled. Good, then I'll wait and see how you collect it. Chapter 6, Intercepting the First Project. On the 3rd day after Zhao Hongyuan was released on bail, Wang Zhongwo asked to meet with me. The location was a very remote tea house. He came alone. No Zhao Hongyuan, no lawyer. When I sat down, he was drinking tea. Seeing me arrive, he didn't stand up, just lifted his chin to signal for me to sit. Shen Qingzi, I admit I underestimated you, he said, setting down his teacup. So state your terms. You can come back if you want, or ask for compensation. Just don't stay at Dingshan. I picked up the teapot and poured myself a cup of tea. Why? Because you're over there. It's like a slap in my face, he said bluntly. Everyone in the industry is laughing at me, saying that Wang Zhongwo can't even keep a talent, letting the competition snatch you away. So you don't want me to come back, you want me to disappear. I set down the teacup. Chairman Wang, you haven't changed, always thinking only of your own reputation. Wang Zhongwo's expression darkened. You think you can make it out on top in Dingshan? I know Lin Wanqing well, she's even more ruthless than I am. And she'll discard you once she's done using you. That's better than being used by you. I stood up. Chairman Wang, you still owe Lin Wanqing 300 million from back then, and she remembers it clearly. I also remember clearly the money you owe me. What's owed will be paid, sooner or later. Wang Zhenghua suddenly stood up. Goodbye, Chairman Wang. I turned and walked away. Behind me came the sound of a teacup shattering. I didn't look back. Over the next 2 weeks, I led the team in pushing forward the Technology Industrial Park project at full speed. The renovation plan was finalized, the construction team moved in, the hospital cooperation agreement was signed, and the government subsidy funds were also received. Everything went smoothly, so smoothly that it felt off to me. Sure enough, problems arose one morning. Wang Dao burst into my office, his face pale. Sister Qingzi, Shengheng has snatched the project, explain clearly. The logistics park project in the west of the city was already internally assigned to us by the government, but last night Shengheng suddenly submitted a bid that was 50 million yuan lower than ours, directly taking it away. I opened my computer and pulled up the project files. The West City Logistics Park is a mess with 3 billion in debt, but its location is excellent. After renovation, it could become a cold chain logistics base with huge profit potential. We've been preparing for a long time, and our plan is already very well developed. They couldn't have come up with a plan this quickly, I said, unless someone leaked our plan. Wang Dao lowered his voice. Sister Qingzi, I suspect there's a mole in the team. I fell silent for a few seconds. 7 team members, all former subordinates I led at Shengheng. I trust each of them. But if someone has truly been bought off, they must be hiding their tracks very well. Not yet, I said. Check who has accessed the project files. Pull up the IP logs, login times, and file access counts. Wang Dao nodded and left to carry out the task. In the afternoon, the results came in. It was Xiaowen, the youngest girl on the team, who had been with the company for only 6 months and was responsible for organizing and archiving project documents. Her computer had been remotely accessed the night before the final version of the proposal was completed. It wasn't her who leaked the information, Wang Dao said, pointing at the log. Someone hacked into her account. The hacker's IP address was overseas, but it went through several layers of proxies, so the source couldn't be traced. As I looked at the log, something suddenly came to mind. Has Shengheng been selling the proposal for the project in the west of the city? Wang Dao was stunned. What do you mean? If they use our proposal for the bidding, then the intellectual property of this proposal belongs to us. I smiled slightly. Someone as smart as Wang Zhongwo wouldn't make such a low-level mistake, so he must have altered the key parts of the proposal. I asked Wang Dao to find a way to get hold of Shengheng's bidding proposal. The next day, Xiaoju managed to obtain Shengheng's proposal file through connections. We compared it and found that they had indeed copied our framework, but they had modified the core data, reducing our estimated renovation costs by 30% and increasing the projected revenue by 20%. This is courting death. After reviewing the data, Wang Dao said, at this cost, it's simply impossible to pull off. The expected returns are nothing but empty talk. Then let them die, I said. Get our original proposal notarized, and have Shengheng's proposal notarized as well. When their project collapses, we'll sue them for patent infringement all at once. I dialed Lin Wanqing's number. President Lin, Shengheng stole our proposal and snatched the Chengxi project. There was a silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds, then Lin Wanqing laughed. I knew Wang Zhongwo would do something like this. Tell me, how do you plan to strike back? No retaliation, I said. Let him take it. Let him do it. Wait until he's halfway through and realizes the costs are out of control, then we'll step in. Are you sure he'll collapse halfway through, Mr. Lin? There's a fatal flaw in his plan. He's lowered the procurement cost of cold chain equipment by 40%. There are only 3 suppliers nationwide for such equipment, and none of them can accept that price. When he goes to negotiate, he'll find out it's simply impossible to buy. Lin Wanqing laughed. Shen Qingzi, that's a ruthless move. It's not that I'm ruthless, it's that he's too greedy, I said. Chapter 7. The core team assembles. On the 5th day after the West City project was snatched away, Wang Dao discovered something else. Of the 7 former colleagues we had planned to hire, 3 had their personnel files maliciously withheld by Shengheng, preventing their transfer. The HR director called and said we can transfer our files, but each person has to pay a 50,000 yuan penalty for breach of contract. Old Zhong's voice trembled with anger. That clause isn't in the contract at all. Shengheng added it themselves. I set down the documents in my hand. Labor law stipulates that when an employee resigns, the company must process the transfer of their personnel file within 15 days and cannot withhold it for any reason. What they're doing is illegal. What should we do then? Old Zhong asked. Report them to the Labor Bureau. We'll definitely file a complaint. But that process is too slow. I picked up my phone. First, we'll send a lawyer's letter, and at the same time, contact the media to expose this. Fang Yuan's lawyer's letter arrived at Shengheng that very afternoon, with very stern wording demanding the unconditional transfer of the files within 48 hours, or else legal action would be pursued at the same time. I had Li Shui contact several industry media outlets to expose Shengheng's illegal withholding of employee files. The next day, the news broke: Shengheng Capital exposed for illegally withholding former employee files, suspected of violating the law. The stock price immediately fell. Wang Zhongwo grew anxious and called to curse at me. "Shen Qingxi, are you deliberately trying to mess with me? Chairman Wang, I am safeguarding the legitimate rights and interests of employees," I said. "Take a look at which article of the labor law stipulates that you can withhold personnel files. Call me back once you've found it." I hung up the phone on the third day. Shengheng obediently handed over all the files, not daring to say another word. Moreover, there was an unexpected gain. Zhao Hongyuan's secretary, Xiao Lin, proactively contacted me, expressing his desire to jump ship to Dingshan. I met him at a cafe, a young man wearing glasses who looked quite refined. "President Shen, I have 3 years' worth of work records on Zhao Hongyuan." Xiao Lin got straight to the point, including bank statements of the kickbacks he received, chat logs of him privately splitting money with Wang Zhongwo, and emails where he instructed me to falsify accounts. I looked at him. "Why are you giving it to me?" "Because Zhao Hongyuan fired my girlfriend last month, just because she said in front of him, 'Shen Qingxi's project is really well done.'" Xiao Lin's eyes were cold. "I've been at this company for 2 years, living in constant fear, helping Zhao Hongyuan with fake accounts, deleting files, and cleaning up his messes. I don't want to go on like this anymore. Do you know what it means to give these to me?" I asked. "I know," Xiao Lin nodded. "It means Zhao Hongyuan is finished, and I might end up in prison too, but I'm willing." I remained silent for a few seconds before saying, "Xiao Lin, I will hand over the evidence of your fraudulent accounting to the police. But if you are willing to cooperate with the investigation, I can ask Attorney Fang to help you seek leniency." Xiao Lin stood up and bowed to me. "Thank you, Mr. Shen." He pushed a USB drive toward me, then turned and left. I held the USB drive, my fingers slightly cold. Inside are 3 years of criminal records for Zhao Hongyuan and Wang Zhongwo. I dialed Lin Wanqing's number. "President Lin, I've obtained evidence that can completely bring down Wang Zhongwo. Don't rush." Lin Wanqing's voice was calm. "Use the evidence when it's most impactful. Now is not the time. Keep it safe for now." "When is the time?" "When Shengheng's stock price hits rock bottom. When Wang Zhongwo's board completely loses trust in him, and when we can acquire his shares at the lowest price." I took a deep breath. "You want to acquire Shengheng, didn't you? Say you wanted to buy his company in 5 years. Lin Wanqing smiled. "Now, I'm giving you this opportunity." Chapter 8. Head-to-head at the Industry Summit. The China Investment Annual Conference, the nation's largest industry summit, is held once a year and draws all the heavyweight figures in the field. This year's venue is the most luxurious hotel in the city center, with its banquet hall, which can accommodate over 1,000 people, completely full. Wang Zhongwo is a guest on the roundtable forum, seated right in the center of the stage. I sat in the first row of the audience, with Lin Wanqing beside me. "Are you sure you want to go on stage?" Lin Wanqing asked in a low voice. "Yes," I said. "There are some things that must be made clear in front of everyone." The theme of the roundtable forum was investment strategies in a capital winter. Several big shots took turns speaking, and their words were nothing but clichés. When it was Wang Zhongwo's turn, he cleared his throat and said, "Let me get straight to the point. There are quite a few young people in the market today who lack real skills but have big egos, and many have risen to prominence through plagiarism. Without the platform, they are nothing." Someone in the audience laughed. Wang Zhongwo continued, "We have one in our company. After working on a few projects, he thought he was something special and jumped ship to a competitor. And what happened? It was the same story. He couldn't deliver any real skills." The other guests on the stage exchanged glances, and some began to whisper among themselves, "No one doesn't know who he's talking about." I sit in the audience, expressionless. Lin Wanqing holds my hand. "Don't act impulsively." I don't move. As the roundtable discussion concluded, the host announced the next segment, keynote speeches, and invited Ms. Shen Qingxi, general manager of the Special Assets Department at Dinshin Capital. I stood up and walked onto the stage. The roundtable guests from earlier were still seated on stage, including Wang Zhongwo. When he saw me, his expression changed instantly. I approached the podium and turned on the microphone. Everyone, the person Chairman Wang just mentioned is me. The room fell silent. Chairman Wang said I rose to my position by copying others and that I'm nothing without the platform. I opened the presentation. Today, I'll let the data do the talking. A comparison chart appeared on the large screen. To the left is Shunghang Capital's total profit over the past 5 years, 5 billion. To the right is the profit generated by the 7 projects I led at Shunghang over 3 years, 1 billion. The audience erupted in astonishment. In other words, the money I earned in just 3 years accounts for 2/3 of Shunghang's entire company's profit over 5 years. Wang Jianguo stood up. Shenqingxi, you, Chairman Wang, I'm not finished yet. I interrupted him and clicked to the next slide. This is the actual return rate on Shunghang's non-performing asset disposals. The screen displayed a set of shocking figures. Over the past 3 years, Shunghang had disposed of 23 non-performing assets, showing a book profit of 450 million yuan, but the actual profit was only 80 million yuan. The remaining 370 million yuan had all gone into the private pockets of Zhao Hongyuan and Wang Zhongwo. The source of these figures is Shunghang's internal audit report, along with the bank statements provided by Zhao Hongyuan's secretary. I said, I have already submitted everything to the China Securities Regulatory Commission. The room erupted in chaos. The reporters were frantically snapping photos. The other guests on stage turned pale, and Wang Zhongwo froze in place. So Chairman Wang, when you said, a young person with little skill, a bad temper, who rose through plagiarism, were you referring to me? I looked at him. Or were you describing yourself? Wang Zhongwo's lips trembled for a long time. But not a single word came out. I continued my speech, speaking for 15 minutes straight. No fluff, just solid content. After it ended, the entire audience erupted in thunderous applause that lasted for a full minute. I stepped off the stage, and 3 investors simultaneously approached me, handing me their business cards. Mr. Shun, we are very interested in investing in your project. Mr. Shun, would it be convenient to schedule a time to chat? I took each business card one by one. Responding politely, Lin Wanqing walked over, smiling as she said, that slap was quite loud. It's not over yet, I said, his only lost face. I'll make him lose his dignity too. My phone vibrated. Wang Dao sent a message. There's been an incident with the West City project. All of Shunghang's cold chain equipment procurement has fallen through, and the project has been halted. I replied, let's go with Plan B. Chapter 9, snatching the second project. When the news broke that the Chengxi project had been halted, I was leading my team in preparations for another, even larger project. A bidding process for asset disposal by a large state-owned enterprise, with a target value of 800 million yuan, was the biggest deal in the industry this year. Although Zhao Hongyuan was still on bail, Shunghang had no one else available, so Wang Zhongwo had no choice but to let him continue to be in charge of the project. The atmosphere at the bidding site was very oppressive. The person in charge of the state-owned enterprise was surnamed Liu, in his 50s, with a serious expression and saying very little. Shunghang presented first. Zhao Hongyuan stood on the stage, his voice trembling slightly, but he managed to finish explaining the proposal. The quoted price was 150 million yuan. Buying low and selling high, a typical Shunghang style. It's my turn. President Liu, Dingxin's proposal is to establish a joint venture with your group to securitize these idle assets, with future profits shared between both parties. President Liu's eyebrows twitched slightly. Specifically, we plan to transform these assets into data centers and innovation parks. It is estimated that the valuation will reach 1-2 billion yuan within 3 years. As a partner, your group will not only benefit from asset appreciation but also retain a certain degree of control over the parks, ensuring that state-owned assets are not lost. Zhao Hongyuan sneered. Shenqingxi, you don't understand the rules. In state-owned enterprise bidding, the highest bidder always wins. I looked at him and said, President Zhao, you're referring to outdated practices from 10 years ago. The core objective of current state-owned enterprise reform is preserving and increasing asset value, not simply selling them off. President Liu spoke up. President Shen is right. Our primary goal is asset appreciation, not one-time liquidation. Zhao Hongyuan's expression turned grim at the critical moment. Wang Zhongwo stood up. Mr. Liu, I'll raise the bid, 180 million, cash. Acquisition. The room fell silent. 180 million was 30 million more than my bid of 150 million, and even higher than the market valuation. Zhao Hongyuan smiled smugly. I didn't panic and looked at Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, I have a question for Shengheng. Go ahead. How many assets has Shengheng acquired from your group over the past 3 years? What was the disposal situation after the acquisition? Zhao Hongyuan's face suddenly changed. I opened my phone and read out a string of data. Over the past 3 years, Shengheng has acquired 7 projects from your group, totaling 1.2 billion. However, after these projects were acquired, 5 were resold, with all profits going to Shengheng, and your group receiving 0 share. The remaining 2 have been left to rot. With your group neither receiving the money nor benefiting from any asset appreciation, Director Liu looked at Wang Zhongwo. Chairman Wang, is this true? Wang Zhongwo broke into a sweat. This is normal business practice. Normal business practice means letting state-owned enterprises lose money while private enterprises profit. Director Liu's voice turned cold. Chairman Wang, what do you take state assets for? Zhao Hongyuan grew anxious. Mr. Liu, enough. Mr. Liu cut him off. We do not accept Shengheng's proposal. Wang Zhongwo sprang to his feet. Mr. Liu, this isn't fair. Mr. Liu looked at him. You've caused the country to lose so much money, and you still have the nerve to talk to me about fairness. The room fell silent. Mr. Liu turned to me. Mr. Shen, we are very interested in your proposal. Let's discuss it in detail after the meeting. I nodded. Thank you, Mr. Liu. As I stepped out of the conference room, Wang Jiandong rushed over and blocked my path. Shen Qingzi, what exactly are you trying to do? I stopped in my tracks. Director Wang, it's not about what I want to do. You're digging your own grave. Every project you steal from me is another hole you're digging for yourself. You think you've won. He lowered his voice. Lin Wanqing is just using you. Once she's done with you, you'll be worth less than 3,000 yuan. That's still better than being used by you, I said. At least Lin Wanqing treats me like a human being, while you only see me as a tool. Wang Jianwu was so furious he couldn't speak. I'm leaving at night. My phone received an anonymous text message. Shen Qingzi, if you mess with Shengheng's project again, watch your safety. I forwarded the screenshot of the message to Fang Yuan. Check this number. Fang Yuan replied, already on it. Lin Wanqing called. Wang Zhongwo is desperate. He's capable of anything now. You need to be careful. I know, I said, but I've waited 3 years for this day. I won't back down because of a threatening text. Chapter 10. Zhao Hongyuan's downfall. The news of Zhao Hongyuan's arrest came on a Sunday afternoon. The message Xiao Ju sent me, Sister Qingzi, Zhao Hongyuan has been arrested. The securities regulatory authorities went directly to his house and took him away. I put down my coffee and called Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan said that the evidence chain is now complete. Zhao Hongyuan accepted bribes totaling over 8 million. Made 20 million from insider trading, and forged company documents. With these 3 charges combined, he faces a minimum sentence of 5 years. What about Wang Zhongwo? I asked. He hasn't been touched yet, Fang Yuan said, but once Zhao Hongyuan is arrested, he'll definitely implicate him. We'll just wait and see. Sure enough, 3 days later, Zhao Hongyuan confessed to Wang Zhongwo's involvement while in detention. He claimed that Wang Zhongwo was the mastermind, taking the lion's share of all kickbacks while he received only a small portion. He also provided bank transfer records showing Wang Zhongwo receiving kickbacks, along with screenshots of chat messages detailing how the 2 of them privately divided the money. The news reached the board of directors of Shengheng, prompting the 3 major shareholders to convene an emergency meeting overnight. Wang Zhongwo was summoned for questioning and remained inside for 4 hours. When he emerged, his face was ashen, as if he had aged 10 years. Wang Dao called me, his tone brimming with excitement. Sister Qingzi, Shengheng's board of directors has decided to dismiss Wang Zhongwo. They're currently going through the procedures. Don't celebrate too soon, I said. Wang Zhongwo is a major shareholder, holding 30% of the shares. Even if the board dismisses him, he can still cause trouble in his capacity as a shareholder. What should we do then? Wait, 2 more days passed, and the board of directors of Shungheng issued its resolution. Wang Zhongwo was removed from his position as chairman, with the vice chairman temporarily assuming the role. At the same time, the securities regulatory authorities officially opened an investigation into Wang Zhongwo. As soon as the news broke, Shungheng's stock price plummeted by 30%. Lin Wanqing called, "Shen Qingzi, the time has come. Are you referring to acquiring Shungheng?" "Correct," Lin Wanqing said. "I authorize you to take full charge of this acquisition, with a budget of 500 million. Acquire as much equity as you can." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Lin, are you sure?" "I'm sure," Lin Wanqing smiled. "This company should have been surnamed Shen from the start." I hung up the phone and looked out the window. 3 years ago, Wang Zhongwo told me, "You're useless. You can't survive without me." 3 years later, I will tell him who the real loser is. Chapter 11, The Acquisition of Shungheng Capital. The acquisition negotiations took place in a conference room at a law firm. 3 people came from Shungheng's side: Vice Chairman Old Chen, the legal director, and a middle-aged man whose face I couldn't clearly make out. Wang Zhongwo didn't come, he's still under investigation. Old Chen got straight to the point. "President Shen, Shungheng's capital chain has broken, and we urgently need an injection of funds, otherwise we won't last 3 months. What are your terms?" I opened the file. "Dingshan will invest 300 million to acquire 60% of Shungheng's equity." Old Chen's expression changed. 300 million. At its peak, Shungheng was worth 1.5 billion. That was the peak, I said. Now Shungheng's stock has fallen by 70%, with a market value of less than 500 million. And it's still dropping. Acquiring 60% for 300 million is already a premium. The legal director grew anxious. "Mr. Shen, you're taking advantage of the situation. The business world is like a battlefield," I said, looking at him. "When Wang Zhongwo stole my proposal back then, why didn't anyone call it taking advantage of the situation?" Old Chen remained silent for a long time before finally asking, "Can you add a little more? 300 million, non-negotiable," I said. "Sign if you agree. If not, forget it. I've got 7 projects waiting, and I don't have time to waste." Old Chen exchanged a glance with the legal director, then finally sighed, "Let's sign." Just then, the conference room door was pushed open. Wang Jianguo walked in. He was wearing a wrinkled suit, his hair disheveled, his eyes bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept in days. "Shen Qingzi," his voice hoarse, "you can't treat me like this." I stood up. "Chairman Wang, you're just in time. As a shareholder, you need to sign this acquisition agreement." He walked up to me and suddenly dropped to his knees. The entire room fell silent. "Mr. Shen, I beg you, for the sake of our past relationship, please give me a chance." Wang Zhongwo's voice trembled. "I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way." I looked down at him. This man who had once stood so high and called me worthless, now kneeling before me. There was no sense of satisfaction in my heart, only calm. "Chairman Wang, 5 years ago, you called me a waste." I crouched down to meet his eyes. "Now tell me, who is the waste?" Wang Zhongwo's lips trembled. "I am the waste. I am." "Enough." I stood up. "Sign the agreement, transfer the shares. From now on, you go your way, and I'll go mine." Wang Zhongwo trembled all over, but in the end, he picked up the pen. After signing, he slumped into the chair as if completely drained. I picked up the agreement, took a check from my bag, and placed it on the table. 30 million. "This is what you owe me for 3 years of salary and bonuses," I said. "Not a penny more, not a penny less." Wang Zhongwo looked at the check, tears falling. I turned and walked away. Walking out of the meeting room, Lin Wanqing was waiting for me in the hallway. "How do you feel?" she asked. "It felt like watching a play," I said. "I performed for 3 years, and now it's finally time for the ending." Chapter 12, My Name is the Brand. The day of the inauguration ceremony for Dingshan Capital's new headquarters building. The weather was exceptionally good. I stood on the stage, dressed in a black suit, facing hundreds of guests, investors, partners, government representatives, and former employees of Shungheng. Lin Wanqing stood at the forefront and nodded to me. "Everyone," I said into the microphone, "there are 2 announcements to make today." The entire room fell silent. First, Ms. Lin Wanqing is officially retiring, and I will be taking over as the CEO of Dingshan Capital. Applause erupted. Second, I took a deep breath. Dingshan Capital is officially renaming itself Qingxi Capital. The room erupted in astonishment. This name represents my commitment. From today on, I will personally oversee every project and personally approve every decision. Qingxi Capital will not engage in unprofitable ventures, will not accept subpar projects, and will not let down anyone who trusts us. The applause grew louder. I looked down at the audience. Wang Dao, Li Shui, Laro Zhong, Xiao Ju, Ajie, Xiao Wen, and brother Chen were sitting together. Their eyes red. They had followed me from a monthly salary of 3,000 to an annual salary of 1 million in just 8 months. This wasn't luck, it was what they deserved. After the press conference, I returned to my office. There was a courier package on the desk. With no sender information, I opened it, and inside was an employee badge. It was a badge from Shengheng Capital, with Investment Banking Department, Senior Specialist, Shun. Qingxi written on it. The word senior in the position field had been added later. A note was stuck to the back of the badge, reading, 5 years later, I made it. I smiled and put the badge in the drawer. My phone rang. It was Lin Wanqing. Congratulations, President Shun, she said, but don't get too carried away. Being CEO isn't easy. You've got a major project waiting for you tomorrow. What project? I asked. Acquire the remaining 40% stake in Shengheng and completely drive Wang Jiongwo out. I hung up the phone and looked out at the city lights. 3 years ago, when I left Shengheng, Wang Jiongwo said I couldn't survive without him. Now, I will make him realize that he cannot survive without me. The door opened, and Wang Dao poked his head in. Sister Qingxi, the verdict for Zhao Hongyuan has come down. 5 years, deserved, I said. How is the preparation going for that 40% equity stake in Shengheng? Almost ready. Wang Jiongwo can't hold out much longer. He'll definitely sell within a week. Good. I stood up. In a week, I'll make sure he leaves with nothing. A week later, the acquisition agreement was signed. Wang Jiongwo sold his final 5% stake to Qingxi Capital for 20 million yuan. His hands trembled as he signed the documents. Mr. Shun. He looked up. Are you really going to drive me to the brink? Chairman Wang, I said, I'm not driving you to the brink, I'm just taking back what belongs to me. He remained silent for a long time, then said, You win. I know, I replied. 3 years ago, I told you that in 5 years, I would buy your company. Now, I've done it in just 8 months. Wang Jiongwo stood up, bowed, and turned to leave. Watching his hunched back, I suddenly remembered how he had thrown my resignation letter at me 3 years ago. Back then, he was so impressive, wearing a suit and leather shoes, full of confidence, calling me useless in front of the entire company. And now, he has nothing left. The company is gone, the money is gone, the reputation is gone, and even my last shred of self-respect is gone. I don't feel any sense of satisfaction, nor do I feel any cruelty. I've simply taken back what belongs to me. In my own way, Lin Wanqing was right. The workplace is like that. If you're strong, others become weak. If you're weak, others will trample you. I don't want to be stepped on, so I choose to become stronger. The sunlight outside the window was just right. I picked up my phone and posted a message on my social media feed. Qingxi Capital is officially established. Heroes from all walks of life are welcome to join us. Let's make money together. Replies quickly appeared below. Wang Dao, boss, I'm already working overtime in the office. Li Shui, Qingxi, today marks my first full year at the company. Thank you. Xiao Ju, following Qingxi, this life is worth it. I smiled and turned off my phone. From a monthly salary of 3,000 to a net worth of over 100 million, from being humiliated to standing at the top of the industry. It only took me 3 years and 8 months. It wasn't luck. I earned it because from the very beginning, I knew I wasn't worthless. I am Shun Qingxi, founder of Qingxi Capital, the #1 in the non-performing asset disposal industry. If anyone calls me a waste, I'll let the data speak for itself. Next. Let's listen to the next story. At 3:07 a.m., the buzzing vibration of my phone jolted me out of deep sleep. I squinted at the screen. It was an unknown number. I hung up, turned over, and went back to sleep. 3 seconds later, the vibration sounded again, from the same number. Frowning, I answered, but before I could even speak, a frantic, almost broken voice came from the other end. Su Wan, is that you? Su Wan, it's Lin Yu. Do you still remember me, Lin Yu? The name pierced through my half-asleep consciousness like a needle. Of course I remembered her. A year ago, When I worked at Shungheng Technology, Lin Yu was the only person in the marketing department who had secretly handed me a cup of coffee when I was isolated by the entire company. What's wrong? I sat up, my voice hoarse. Su Wan, something terrible has happened. Lin Yu's voice trembled. The company's core system has crashed. It started at 1 in the morning. The entire trading platform is down. The database rollback failed, and the backup is also having issues. The IPO bell ringing ceremony is scheduled for 8 tomorrow morning, and the whole company is in chaos. Mr. Zhu Mingyuan dragged everyone from the tech department out of bed, but no one can fix it. I fell silent for 2 seconds. My heart beat a little faster, but my tone remained calm. So, you called me because you want me to do something. They checked the system logs and found that the issue lies in the core architecture module you were responsible for back then. Mr. Zhu asked me to contact you and beg for your help. I almost laughed out loud. Please help me take a look. These 4 words, spoken by Lin Yu, carried a cautious plea, but I could hear the real voice behind them. How could Zhu Mingyuan possibly beg me? He simply couldn't find anyone who understood that system better than I did. Lin Yu, I said, you should remember how I left Shungheng a year ago. There was silence on the other end of the line, of course, I remember. It was March 17th, a cloudy day. Zhu Mingyuan called me into his office, where a resignation agreement lay on the desk, citing serious violation of the company's confidentiality agreement and an authorized disclosure of core code. I denied it on the spot and demanded an investigation. He sneered and waved his hand, and security guards appeared at the door. Someone from HR came in to watch me pack my things, and even my personal email was deactivated on the spot. That day, I walked out of the Shungheng building carrying a cardboard box containing only a water cup, a nearly withered pothose plant, and a piece of paper that read non-compete agreement. It was only later that I found out that the so-called evidence of the leak was a few tampered server logs, and the person who reported me was my own apprentice, Chen Rui, whom I had personally trained. Su Wan, I know you've been wronged. Lin Yu's voice pulled me back to reality, but there's really no other way now. Mr. Zhu said that as long as you're willing to step in, you can name your price. Have him call me personally. I hung up, the rental room fell silent. I leaned against the headboard and, by the streetlight filtering in through the window, made out the shape of a water stain on the ceiling. I had lived in this old apartment, which cost 2,300 yuan a month, for a year, after being fired from Shungheng. The non-compete agreement prevented me from working at any rival companies. For 6 whole months, I had no income, and my savings plummeted from 6 figures to 4. I had worked as a food delivery courier, served as an e-commerce customer service agent, and at my poorest, I would hesitate for 3 days over a 19.9 yuan bowl of luocefen, but I was also in that room, using a second-hand laptop I bought for 3,000 yuan, and I rewrote 3 independent system architectures. I didn't tell anyone, didn't seek any investment. It was purely driven by technical instinct and an unyielding determination. My phone vibrated again. This time, the caller ID showed a number I would never forget. Zhu Mingyuan, I answered, but said nothing. Su Wan, his voice sounded weary and tense, yet still carried that condescending tone. Lin Yu told you the situation. The system has crashed, and I need you. I need you. I repeated these 3 words, as if tasting something strange. Right. The technical department checked the full backup from 3 days ago and found that your code module was already abnormal at that time. But no one noticed it then. Now the production environment is in complete chaos. If we delay any further, tomorrow's IPO will have to be postponed. You know what that means. Of course, I knew. Shungheng Technology had spent 2 full years preparing for this IPO, staking everything on it. If it were delayed, the stock price was estimated to be cut in half, and investors could claim compensation based on the valuation adjustment mechanism agreement, potentially dragging the entire company down. That's why Zhu Mingyuan bowed his head, not because his conscience was awakened, but because the knife was at his throat. The repair fee. 5 million, he said. I looked at the night outside the window and said softly, 35 million. There was a suppressed commotion on the other end of the phone, as if someone nearby had gasped. Zhu Mingyuan fell silent for about 5 seconds, then his voice turned cold. Su Wan, don't go too far. 35 million. Do you have any idea what that means? I know, I said, that's 1/1000th of the estimated market value after your company goes public. It's also 3 times the price your algorithm model, the one you snatched from me last year, is being sold for on the dark web. Mr. Jew, you can afford it. He didn't expect me to know about the algorithm. I could hear the change in his breathing, shifting from rapid to deliberately slow and controlled. Another silence followed. This one even longer. I don't have 30 million in cash. He finally spoke, his voice dropping half a tone. I don't need cash. I want 0.5% of Shunghang's post-IPO options, calculated at the issue price. With you covering any shortfall, I've already drafted the contract and can send it to you now. I've been planning this move for 3 months. Ever since Shunghang submitted its IPO application 2 weeks ago, I knew their system would have issues, not because I tampered with anything, but because I know all too well how many pitfalls were left in the architecture from back then. After Chen Rui took over, in his rush to claim credit, he simplified many of the risk control modules I designed, prioritizing operational speed at the expense of data consistency. This kind of architecture could hold up under daily transaction volumes in the millions, but once it approached the trillion-level stress test before the IPO, it was bound to collapse. I just didn't expect it to collapse so precisely. Right on the eve of the IPO, you were prepared all along. Zhu Mingyuan's voice finally cracked, the faint composure beginning to peel away. Mr. Zhu, there are 4 hours and 50 minutes left until the IPO bell rings. Would you like to discuss the contract terms with me, or would you rather keep asking these irrelevant questions? I spoke this sentence very slowly, each word like a nail hammered into the other end of the phone. What happened next was even more dramatic than I had imagined. Zhu Mingyuan didn't answer directly but handed the phone to the legal counsel beside him. I heard the counsel rapidly recite the contract terms and then whisper, "No traps, but the conditions are extremely harsh, sign it." Zhu Mingyuan's voice came through, almost through gritted teeth. Stabilize the system first. The electronic contract arrived at 3:31 a.m. I reviewed the terms once, confirmed everything was correct, and signed my name with the stylus. 30 seconds later, the advance payment of 35 million hit my account. The string of zeros at the end of the number made my phone screen glow a few shades brighter. I got up and walked into the living room, turning on 3 computers. One was a second-hand laptop, and the other 2 were desktop machines I had assembled myself. When they all lit up, the rented room looked like a tech-themed Christmas tree. I put on my headphones, connected to Shunghang's Bastion host, and started reviewing the logs. For the first 10 minutes, I just observed. The tech department had made a mess of the system, hastily executing over a dozen rollback operations in a frantic attempt to fix it, which completely scrambled the data versions. I pressed a few hotkeys, exported all the operation logs, and began rebuilding the indexes in reverse. Lin Yu sent me a message in the background. Mr. Zhu just smashed a cup in the conference room. He said if this isn't fixed, the tech department's bonuses for this month will be docked entirely. I didn't reply and kept working. 30 minutes later, I rebuilt the main index. 40 minutes later, I resolved constraint conflicts in 3 core data tables. At the 53rd minute, as I opened the underlying storage structure of the system, my fingers suddenly froze on the keyboard. Something's off. This crash pattern isn't caused by an architectural flaw. The path of data corruption is too precise. Like someone using a scalpel to make a cut, not a hammer to smash a crack. I traced the damage trail upward and found a piece of code in the 7th layer of logs that shouldn't exist. A logic bomb, set to trigger at a specific timestamp, with the detonation condition being 7 consecutive days of transaction volume exceeding a threshold. This isn't an accident, it's deliberate sabotage. Moreover, the logic bomb was written 4 months ago. At that time, I had already left Shunghang for 8 months. But one person was still there and had right access to the system's underlying layer, Chen Rui. I took a screenshot of that code and saved it locally. Then I continued digging deeper, this time with a new purpose. Not just to fix it, but to uncover the truth. At 4:23 a.m., I found an encrypted folder in a historical version directory marked as obsolete. The file name was a string of garbled characters, but the creator's ID was still in the metadata. CR0086. CR0086 is Chen Rui's employee ID in the company's internal system. I stared at the screen for a long time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. My intuition told me that the contents of this folder were far more important than the system crash itself. Just then, my phone vibrated. Lin Yu sent another message. Mr. Ju wants you to speed up. The investors are already here, waiting in the conference room downstairs to see the test report. I was about to reply when my phone suddenly rang. This time, it was Ju Mingyuan himself. Su Wn, how's the progress? The main system will be restored within 40 minutes, I said, but I have a question for you. What is it? There's a logic bomb in your system that was implanted 4 months ago. Are you aware of this? On the other end of the phone, there was the sound of something falling. Ju Mingyuan's silence lasted a full 11 seconds. I counted them silently in my head. During those 11 seconds, I could hear someone speaking in a hushed tone on the other end of the line, as if legal counsel was urgently communicating with someone. The sound of keyboard typing came from a distance, along with the low hum of an outdoor air conditioning unit. All these sounds blended together, forming a chaotic snapshot of a listed company CEO on the eve of going public. What logic bomb are you talking about? He finally spoke, his voice as hoarse as sandpaper. I've made myself very clear, Mr. Ju. Someone planted a piece of code in your system, set to detonate before the IPO. This isn't a system malfunction. It's sabotage. I pulled up the key parameters of that code, watching the flickering hexadecimal characters on the screen. Are you sure you want me to continue discussing this over the phone? I added, because the interface I've just opened is visible to everyone in your company's tech department, including your cybersecurity lead, Brother Liu. I deliberately used that nickname. Brother Liu, full name Liu Zhongwo, was a veteran in Shengheng's tech department with 12 years under his belt. Technically solid but weak in character, he was terrified of offending the higher-ups. On the day I was laid off last year, he stood in the hallway, saw me walking past with a cardboard box, and pretended to be on a call, avoiding eye contact. Su Wan, don't move. Ju Mingyuan's voice suddenly tensed. Don't discuss this openly in the system. I'm not that stupid, I said. I'm using an encrypted channel right now. Only you and I can see this conversation. But your tech leads aren't blind either. They'll quickly discover that the crash was caused by malicious code. Have you figured out how to explain it? The words struck like a blade, piercing precisely into his most vulnerable spot. On the eve of the IPO, the core system had been deliberately sabotaged. If this news leaked, regulators would immediately halt the listing process. Even if kept under wraps, investors would lose confidence upon learning the truth. Ju Mingyuan was no longer facing a mere technical issue. He was confronting a public relations nuclear bomb ready to detonate at any moment. Can you find out who did it? He asked. I can, I said, but I need authorization. You'll have to grant me the highest system privileges, including access to the audit logs and security monitoring modules. These are currently under the control of your technical director, and he'll need to cooperate with me. I'll handle the matter with Liu Zhongwo. There's one more thing. I paused. I need all personnel entry and exit records, as well as server access logs, from your company for the past 4 months. This data isn't stored in the system, so you'll need to have the administrative department retrieve it. You suspect an insider, Mr. Ju. The logic bomb was written using an internal development account. The account belongs to your technical team. Who do you think I'm suspecting? A low curse came from the other end of the line, followed by the sound of a chair being pushed back. Ju Mingyuan seemed to have stood up and was pacing back and forth in the room, his leather shoes making dull thuds on the floor. I'll have someone look into it. After saying this, he hung up. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the encrypted folder on the screen. CR0086, Chen Rui. I know this person too well. 3 years ago, when he first joined the company, I was the one who interviewed him. At that time, he had just switched jobs from an outsourcing company. His resume wasn't particularly impressive, but he made up for it with his diligence and hard work. I spent 2 years mentoring him, teaching him everything from basic architecture to business logic, sharing nearly all the knowledge I had. The way he repaid me was with an anonymous tip letter, complete with 3 tampered server screenshots, claiming I had sold the core code to a competitor. It wasn't until later that I learned he had been negotiating equity incentives with Ju Mingyuan at the time, with the condition that he eliminate a high-paid, low-performing senior employee in the tech department to free up budget. I happened to be one of the highest paid individuals in the tech department. And I was also responsible for the most critical modules, making me the perfect scapegoat. Lin Yu's message popped up again. Su Wan, Mr. Ju just called Brother Liu into the small meeting room. When he came out, his expression was extremely grim. What happened? I didn't reply. It wasn't that I didn't want to say anything. I was waiting for something more important. At 4:38, Ju Mingyuan sent the authorization confirmation, the moment I gained the system's highest privileges. It was like opening a door that had always been locked, stepping into the digital heart of Shengheng technology. Within 3 minutes, I did 3 things. First, I fixed the main system crash, restoring the trading platform's basic functionality. Second, I made complete backups of all crash-related logs and code snippets, storing them in 3 different cloud locations. Third, I began reverse tracing the writing traces of the logic bomb. The first 2 tasks went smoothly, but the third one revealed something I wasn't supposed to see. The account used to write the logic bomb was indeed Chen Rui's, but the IP address from which it was written didn't correspond to his workstation. I traced it to a second-level proxy and found that the signal had jumped 3 times, finally landing on a private server. The server's registration information was hidden, but its bandwidth traffic pattern betrayed its location. It was in the same data center as Shengheng's server room, in the same row of racks. Someone had set up a covert jump server within the company. This is not something an ordinary technician could accomplish. It requires physical access to the server room, knowledge of the core switch's management password, and an intimate understanding of the entire network architecture. There are no more than 5 people at Shengheng who could pull this off. I was following this lead further when Lin Yu sent another message. This time, it wasn't text, it was a voice recording. I played it and heard her speaking in a hushed tone in a hallway, with the background noise of 2 men arguing. One is Ju Mingyuan, and the other voice is all too familiar to me. Chen Rui. What the hell are you talking about? Chen Rui's voice was sharp and agitated. I don't know anything. Don't you dare try to pin this on me. Then why is it your account? Ju Mingyuan suppressed his anger. The security team traced it back. It was your CR0086 account permissions. What can account permissions prove? My account was used by Su Wan 4 months ago. She didn't hand it over properly when she left, so who knows what she did back then. When I heard these words, the corners of my mouth involuntarily curled upward as expected. It was the same old trick. Last year, when he framed me for leaking secrets, he used the same logic to muddy the waters, shift the blame onto others, and sit back to watch the show. Unfortunately, this time is different. Last year, I had no evidence. This time, I do, and not just one piece, but an entire chain of evidence. I accelerated the tracking process, my fingers almost dancing across the keyboard. At 5:03 a.m., I finally uncovered the original file of the logic bomb. It was hidden in a folder named system_backup_old, with the file name temp_cache_20231015 DLL, disguised as an ordinary cache file. But when I opened its hexadecimal source code, I saw a line of comments, a comment written in Chinese. Trigger condition. Trading volume exceeds the threshold for 7 consecutive days. Detonation time, within 24 hours before listing. The person who wrote this comment has a habit of adding 3 tildes as an end marker after each piece of code. This habit is all too familiar to me, because every apprentice I've mentored has inherited my coding habits, including this little quirk. Chen Rui wrote it. It's him. I took a screenshot of this evidence, along with the IP tracking chain, account operation logs, and file creation timestamps, and packed them all into an encrypted archive. Then I did something else. I opened that encrypted folder labeled CR0086. The password was 6 digits long. I tried Chen Rui's birthday. It didn't work. I tried his employee ID. It didn't work either. I tried the company's founding date. Still no luck. I closed my eyes and thought for a moment. Chen Rui is vain, insecure, and loves to put on airs. The password he set must be something he considers important, but others would find hard to guess. What would he use? I entered a string of numbers. 0317. March 17th. The day I was laid off. The folder opened. Inside were over 30 files, documents, spreadsheets, audio recordings. I clicked on the top one, a financial statement detailing how Chen Rui had embezzled Rand funds over the past year through fake outsourcing contracts. The total amount was 12 million. The second file was a screenshot of a chat log between Chen Rui and Zhu Mingyuan's secretary, Xiao Zhao, discussing how to transfer a consultation fee to an overseas account. The third file was an email sent by Zhu Mingyuan to Chen Rui, containing only one sentence: "Handle Suwan's matter cleanly. I'll take care of the rest." My finger hovered motionless over the mouse, not out of shock, but because of a strange calmness. Throughout the year, I had replayed the events of that day countless times in my mind, wondering what exactly had happened when I was laid off, and why Zhu Mingyuan had dismissed me without even conducting an investigation. Now I had the answer. It wasn't because I had done anything wrong, but because I had stood in someone else's way. I had blocked Chen Rui's path to advancement, and also obstructed Zhu Mingyuan's efforts to purge dissenters. Just as I was processing this information, my phone rang. Zhu Mingyuan. Su Wn, how much longer until the system is ready? 40 minutes, I said, but I don't want to talk about the system right now. I want to talk to you about the email you sent to Chen Rui. On the other end of the line, there was dead silence. What did you say? I said. The email between you and Chen Rui. Handle Suwan's matter cleanly. I'll arrange the rest. Mr. Zhu, do you remember this email? If you don't, it's fine. I have a screenshot here. His breathing suddenly grew heavy, as if someone had grabbed him by the throat. How do you have found it on your company's server? Chen Rui stored it in an encrypted folder, probably to use it against you later. Don't you think is quite clever? Unfortunately, the password he set was too simple, 0317, the day I was laid off. He probably thought that date held special meaning for him. Zhu Mingyuan didn't speak, but I heard a strange sound from the other end of the phone, as if someone was trembling violently, their teeth chattering. Su Wn. He finally spoke. His voice completely changed. What exactly do you want? I looked out at the deep blue night sky and softly said one sentence. Mr. Zhu, do you really think I'm just fixing the system? At 5:11 a.m. The cold white light from 3 computer screens in the rental apartment filled the living room, making it look like an operating theater. I sat between the 3 screens, fingers resting on the keyboard but not typing. On the other end of the phone, Zhu Mingyuan's breathing was heavy and erratic, like a drowning man struggling desperately. I gave him enough time to digest those words before speaking again. Mr. Zhu, I can fix your company's system right now. The trading platform will be restored within 40 minutes, and I can rerun the stress test data for you. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., your IPO bell ringing ceremony can proceed as scheduled. I paused. But before that, I want you to know a few things. Speak. His voice sounded like it was squeezed through clenched teeth. First, the logic bomb was indeed planted by Chen Rui, and I've preserved the complete chain of evidence. Second, that email you wrote to him constitutes abetting the destruction of evidence and harboring a criminal. You know exactly how that would be classified. Third, I opened the financial statement, staring at the shocking string of numbers. Over the past year, your company misappropriated 12 million in Rand funds. That money flowed into 3 overseas accounts, one of which ultimately benefits your wife. A sharp intake of breath came from the other end of the line, not Zhu Mingyuan's, but someone nearby who had overheard. What did you say? Zhu Mingyuan's voice suddenly rose an octave. I'm talking about your wife, Zhao Yaru, right? She has a consulting company registered in the Cayman Islands under her name. Over the past 8 months, Chen Rui has been funneling company funds into that account through fake outsourcing contracts. After deducting intermediary fees, roughly over 8 million has ended up in your wife's account. Mr. Zhu, you didn't know about this. Silence, a long silence. I could almost hear Zhu Mingyuan's mind racing, piecing all the fragments together. His wife and Chen Rui had conspired to launder money using his company's funds, while he remained in the dark, thinking Chen Rui had simply helped him get rid of Su Wn. If you don't believe me, I can send you the bank statement, I said, but you'd better find a private place to look at it, because this statement also includes records of your wife's personal transfers to Chen Rui. The amounts aren't large, but they're frequent, twice a month, 50,000 each time. Guess what that money is for? I didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Zhu Mingyuan wasn't a fool. He understood suddenly. A loud noise came from the other end of the line, as if someone had slammed a phone onto a table, followed by the sound of a chair being kicked over. Someone shouted, "Mr. Jew, Mr. Jew." I heard chaotic footsteps, people trying to break up a fight, and Ju Mingyuan's furious roar echoing down the entire hallway. I took off my headphones and waited for a minute. Lin Yu's messages came in like a machine gun. Su Wn. Something huge just happened. Boss Ju suddenly stormed into the conference room and beat Chen Rui to the ground. The security guards couldn't even hold him back. He was beating him while cursing, shouting about your wife's matter. Everyone heard it. I didn't reply. I opened Shengheng's surveillance system and pulled up the footage from the conference room. Although my access rights only granted me server access, I conveniently obtained the interface for the IP cameras. In the video, the conference room was in disarray. Coffee spilled all over the floor, chairs were knocked over. Ju Mingyuan was being held back by two security guards, his shirt collar torn, with a bloody mark on his face. Chen Rui was huddled in the corner, blood trickling from his mouth, his glasses nowhere to be seen. Liu Jian stood in the middle, hands raised in confusion, saying something. I took a screenshot of this scene and saved it. Then I began to truly repair the system. It wasn't because I sympathized with Ju Mingyuan, but because I had my own pace. I had already reverse-engineered the core destructive logic of the logic bomb, and the repair plan had long taken shape in my mind. What really took time was rebuilding the corrupted data indexes, a process that couldn't be accelerated, only waited out as the server ran its course. During the waiting period, I did something even more important. I compiled all the evidence into a file package, divided into 3 levels. The first level is the logic bomb and code traces. This is the technical ironclad proof. The second level is Chen Rui's financial records of embezzlement. This is the criminal evidence. The third level is Ju Mingyuan's emails and his wife's bank statements. This is the stuff that can directly put someone behind bars. Then I synchronized this file package to 5 locations: my cloud drive, my backup email, Lin Yu's computer desktop, Liu Zhongwo's phone, and one more place: the email of the public relations director of Shengheng's largest investor. The last one is set to be sent on a timer. The time is set for tomorrow at 10 a.m., 2 hours after the bell ringing ceremony for the IPO. If everything goes smoothly, Ju Mingyuan will receive this gift at the celebration banquet. If not, I have the authority to manually cancel it at any time. This is my fuse. At 5:41 a.m., the system repair was complete. The trading platform resumed operations. All data was rolled back to the state 1 second before the crash. Stress test data was regenerated, and all metrics met the required standards. I typed the final command, and a green "deployment successful" prompt appeared on the screen. Almost at the same moment, Ju Mingyuan's phone call came through. His voice was so hoarse it was barely audible, as if he had just been crying or had just finished an entire bottle of strong liquor. "Is the system fixed? Alright. Is the data okay? Have the tech team test it themselves. They'll give you a report in 10 minutes. Su Wn." He called my name, then paused for a long time. I could hear him hesitating, building up some difficult mental resolve. Finally, he asked, "What do you want to do with those things?" I leaned back in my chair, watching as the deep blue sky outside the window began to show a faint streak of dawn. "Mr. Ju, what exactly are you asking about?" "The evidence that you instructed Chen Rui to frame me, the records of your wife and Chen Rui laundering money together, or the fact that your company's system was sabotaged the night before the IPO, all of it." His voice carried a tone of utter exhaustion, as if he had given up all resistance. "Alright, then let's make a deal. Go ahead. First, you've already paid the 35 million yuan in repair costs, and I won't be refunding that money. Second, I've prepared a system security hardening plan for you, costing 20 million yuan. You need to sign the contract and make the payment today." 20 million? He almost roared. "Su Wn, don't." "Third," I interrupted, my voice low but every word like a nail, "you must void my non-compete agreement today. I need written confirmation, and you must copy my current lawyer." "When did you hire your lawyer, Mr. Ju? What do you think I've been doing these past 6 months, eating takeout in a rental apartment?" I let out a laugh. "Let me tell you what I've been up to. I've rewritten 3 independent system architectures from scratch, registered a company, and secured 2 rounds of angel investment. My legal team consists of 4 people, one of whom was your deputy legal director at Shengheng. Do you remember Li Guanfeng? After you forced him out last year, he's now my partner. Zhu Mingyuan's voice completely disappeared. I knew what he was thinking. Li Guanfeng, the former deputy legal director of Shengheng, had been targeted and ultimately forced to resign last year for opposing one of Zhu Mingyuan's non-compliant contracts. This man had an intimate knowledge of all the legal loopholes at Shengheng and was thoroughly familiar with Zhu Mingyuan's operational tactics, so you were setting the stage from the very beginning. Zhu Mingyuan's voice was so low it sounded like a mutter. It's not really a setup, I just did what was necessary after you threw me out. For example, I reached out to everyone you've bullied. For example, I pieced together each of our experiences and found a common thread. You. I paused. President Zhu, did you really think that after doing all those things, no one would ever hold you accountable? A faint, choked sound came from the other end of the line. I wasn't sure whether it was Zhu Mingyuan or someone beside him, and I didn't care. Fourth, I continued, my tone as calm as if I were reading from a menu. After the listing tomorrow, you need to publicly clarify the accusations you made against me last year. No apology is necessary. Just say, after investigation, it has been confirmed that Ms. Su Wan did not leak any confidential information. This sentence won't be difficult for you, but it means a lot to me. What if I refuse? Then I'll have no choice but to hand these materials over to the appropriate parties, regulatory authorities, investors, or the media. You choose. You're threatening me. It's not a threat, it's a deal, I said. You give me my innocence, and I'll leave your company a way to survive. Otherwise, at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, your celebration banquet will turn into your farewell party. Zhu Mingyuan remained silent for a long time. Outside the window, the sliver of white on the horizon began to spread. From downstairs, the sound of the breakfast shop opening its door drifted in, followed by the sizzle of youtiao being lowered into the hot oil. I need time to think it over, he finally said. You don't have time to think it over, Mr. Zhu. It's currently 5:52 a.m., with 2 hours and 8 minutes left until the market opening bell. Although your system has been restored, your board members are already on their way. They'll ask you what happened last night. How do you plan to answer them? I'll handle it. Of course you will, but I suggest you check your phone before you do. I sent you a preview file with a screenshot of that email between you and Chen Rui. Take a look at it first, then decide whether you want to negotiate with me. I hung up the phone. The repair progress bar on the screen had reached 100%. Staring at the number, I suddenly felt a bit dazed. A year ago, when I walked out of Shengheng Tower, my bank card had only 3,200 yuan in it, not even enough to cover the next month's rent. Back then, I thought my career was over, that I'd never be able to hold my head up in this industry again. But now, I sit in this rental apartment costing 2,300 a month, holding a company valued at 80 million in my hand, while the CEO of a listed company pleads with me to let go. This feeling is strange. Not satisfaction, not hatred, but a profound calm. It's like walking a long night road and finally seeing the distant lights just before dawn. My phone vibrates. Not a call, but a message from Zhu Mingyuan. Just one sentence. I agree to your terms. I put down my phone, walked to the window, and pushed it open. The morning wind rushed in, carrying the unique dampness and scent of fresh grass that marks early summer. The distant skyscrapers turned into golden silhouettes in the dawn light. The city was waking up. I took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. It's been a year. I can finally step out of this rented room. My phone vibrated again. This time, it was Lin Yu. Su Wan. Mr. Zhu just had his secretary draft a document. It seems to be about you. Do you know what it is? I replied with one word, wait. Then I turned off the message notifications and opened a new document. The title was Shengheng Technology System Security Reinforcement Plan. The quoted price was 20 million. I had written this plan 3 months ago and kept it on my computer. Waiting for this day, the sky outside the window grew brighter, and I sat back down in front of the computer to draft a new email. The recipient was Li Guanfeng, and the subject was, after 10 o'clock tomorrow, Plan B can be initiated. In the bottom right corner of the screen, the time jumped to exactly 6:00 a.m. A new day had begun at 6:15 a.m. Daylight had fully brightened the balcony of my rented apartment. I stood by the window holding a cup, taking a sip of instant coffee that had long gone cold. The bitter taste spread across my tongue. Like a metaphor for the past year, steam from the breakfast shop downstairs poured out from behind the rolling shutter door. Someone was shouting, 2 fried dough sticks and a bowl of soy milk. While another person honked their electric scooter, the world continued as usual, with no one aware that over the past 3 hours, the fate of a pre-IPO company had been completely reshuffled. The phone vibrated 3 times on the table. I walked back and glanced at it. It was a photo sent by Lin Yu. The photo showed the scene downstairs at Shengheng Company, with 3 black business vehicles parked at the entrance and 7 or 8 people in dark suits walking inside. The caption read, "The investors are here, 40 minutes earlier than expected. Mr. Zhu hasn't even changed his clothes yet." He ran down to greet them without even tying his tie. I didn't reply. I opened my laptop, logged into Shengheng's system backend, and started drafting the official version of the security reinforcement plan. The plan was 4 to 7 pages in total, covering everything from architectural design to deployment strategies, disaster recovery plans to attack traceability, each section written with absolute clarity. The quoted price was 23 million, 3 million more than what I had mentioned over the phone. This extra 3 million was labeled as an emergency response surcharge, hidden in the remarks column on page 17 of the contract. In a font size 1 point smaller than the main text, Zhu Mingyuan wouldn't notice it. Or rather, even if he did, he wouldn't dare say a word. At 6:33, his call came through. "The investors want to see the accident report from last night." His voice carried a near-breaking exhaustion. "What should I say? Tell the truth," I said. "Are you crazy? If we say the system was maliciously sabotaged, how will the IPO go ahead? I'm telling you to be honest, not to spill everything." I set the coffee cup on the table, shifting into a more comfortable position in the chair. "Tell them there was a technical glitch in the system, and it's already been fixed. The cause was an incompatibility between the old version of the code and the new stress testing environment. I've already prepared the traces for this explanation in the system logs. The tech department won't be able to find any issues." There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line. "You can leave traces in the logs, Mr. Zhu. Are you questioning my technical skills?" "That's not what I meant." "Then just report it the way I told you. The investors don't understand the technology. They're looking for a reasonable explanation, not the truth. Show them the incident report. It has Liu Zhongwo's signature on it, and they'll believe it." "Will Liu Zhongwo sign it?" I already sent him a draft of the report. After reading it, he proactively asked me when he could sign it. I said, "Guess why he's being so cooperative?" Zhu Mingyuan didn't answer, but he could probably guess. Liu Zhongwo had worked at Shengheng for 12 years, holding the position of deputy technical director for 6 years, yet never got promoted. It wasn't because he lacked ability, it was because he was too honest. He didn't know how to pick sides, didn't know how to claim credit, and didn't know how to shift the blame onto others at critical moments. When I was laid off last year, he was the only person in the technical department who didn't kick me while I was down. He was also the only one who, after I left, was stripped of all real authority by Chen Rui under the guise of restructuring the technical architecture. When I sent him the draft report, I also included an equity incentive plan. It wasn't from my company, but from a cloud services company that had just completed its Series B funding, which I helped him negotiate with. They needed a technical lead, offering an annual salary plus stock options, more than double his current income. Liu Zhongwo replied to my message with just 1 sentence. "Su WN, thank you for remembering me." Of course, I remember him, just like I remember the cup of coffee Lin you secretly handed me, the front desk girl who pressed the elevator for me when I was being kicked out, and the cleaning lady who slipped me an orange while I was packing my boxes. These people showed me a little kindness during my lowest moments, even if it was just not kicking me when I was down. To me, they were like fireflies in the darkest night. I will never forget any of them. At 6:51, the contract for the security hardening plan was sent over. Zhu Mingyuan's legal team spent 12 minutes reviewing it. During that time, he called me 3 times. The first call was to urge me to speed things up, the second was to ask if installment payments were possible, and the third came after a long silence, when he simply said, "You've really changed a lot." "I haven't changed," I replied. It's just that you never wanted to understand the real me before. The signed electronic version of the contract came back. At 703, 23 million yuan hit my account. I stared at the balance in my bank account, the string of zeros after the number had grown from 7 digits to 8. A year ago, when I was forced out, I couldn't even scrape together enough for next month's rent. Now, my account balance was enough to buy 3 apartments in this city, but more important than the money was the confirmation letter, sent simultaneously, declaring the non-compete agreement null and void. From this moment on, I was no longer bound by any restrictions. I could openly attend bidding meetings at any tech company and sign any contract under my own name. The cage that had held me captive for a year was finally opened. I was staring blankly at the confirmation letter when my phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number with the area code 021, Shanghai. Is this MS, Su WN? A middle-aged man's voice came from the other end, deep and steady. I'm Chen Weiyuan, a partner at Dinghui Capital. Sorry to bother you out of the blue. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Dinghui Capital, one of China's top venture capital firms, with assets under management exceeding 30 billion yuan. Why would they be calling me at this moment? Please go ahead. Half an hour ago, we received an anonymous system security assessment report targeting Shunheng Technology's core systems. The technical analysis and data sampling in the report were highly professional. Our internal technical team verified part of it, and the accuracy rate was 100%. Chen Weiyuan paused briefly, at the end of the report. A name was redacted, but our technical colleagues traced the code style back to your GitHub account. My fingers tapped lightly on the desk twice. That report wasn't sent by me. I had indeed prepared something similar, but it was scheduled for 10 a.m., and it wasn't anonymous. Mr. Chen, I'm not quite sure what you mean. We don't need you to admit anything. I just want to inform you that Dinghui's letter of intent to invest in Shunheng has not been finalized yet. We made a last-minute decision this morning to reassess this investment, and a key reference for this assessment is this report. His voice was flat, as if stating a fact. Additionally, we are very interested in the technical capabilities of the report's author, MS, Su WN. If you're interested, I'd like to invite you for a coffee to discuss your next steps. I remained silent for 3 seconds, then gave a time. Next Tuesday afternoon. Good, I'll have my assistant send a formal invitation. The call ended. I looked at the call log on the screen and slowly smiled. In this world, the highest form of revenge is not to destroy someone, but to make yourself strong enough that those who once bullied you have no choice but to beg to work with you. At 7:23, Lin Yu sent a message. Mr. Zhu had his secretary notify everyone that there will be an all-staff morning meeting at 8:30. It said that an important personnel change will be announced. What do you think it is? Just as I was about to reply, Zhu Mingyuan called again. This was the 8th call he had made to me since early this morning. Su WN, I've given you everything you asked for. The money has been transferred, the non-compete agreement has been voided, and the security plan has been signed. Can you delete that evidence now? President Zhu, the agreed-upon terms do not include the deletion of evidence. His voice suddenly rose, then was forcibly suppressed. What exactly do you want? I don't want anything. I just want to ensure you fulfill your final promise. What promise? Publicly clarifying my innocence, at today's listing bell ringing ceremony. You need to add a sentence to your speech. I've already drafted it for you. Shunheng Technology thanks all former employees who contributed to the system's development, including MS, Su WAN, whose contributions to the core architecture were crucial to the company. What's the point of this sentence? It means nothing to you, but to me, it means I can walk with my head held high in this industry. President Zhu, surely you wouldn't refuse to add even this one sentence. Fine, I'll add it. One more thing. Another. Chen Rui. A heavy breath came through the phone. How you handle him is your business, but I must remind you, there are extensive evidence backups on his computer. If you push him too hard, he might become desperate and do something reckless. So I suggest you offer him a dignified exit plan. Have him sign a confidentiality agreement before he leaves. Are you pleading on his behalf? I'm pleading on behalf of your company, I said. If you push him into a corner and he reveals everything, your IPO will be ruined. I'm not helping him. I'm reminding you to cut your losses. Zhu Mingyuan remained silent for a long time before finally saying, I understand, and then hung up the phone. The sunlight outside the window had completely poured in, falling on the keyboard, on the screen, and on my fingers, which clenched and then relaxed. I stood up, walked to the balcony, and watched the city fully awaken in the morning light. At exactly 8 o'clock, Shunghang's IPO bell ringing ceremony officially began. I opened the live stream on my phone, watching Zhu Mingyuan stand on stage, dressed in a suit and tie, his tie knotted meticulously, his smile both appropriate and professional. No one could tell that just 3 hours earlier, he had nearly broken down. "Thank you to everyone who has contributed to Shunghang," he said to the camera, his voice steady, including those former employees who have already left the company. Ms. Su Wan, her contributions to the core architecture were crucial to the company. Hearing my name come out of Zhu Mingyuan's mouth, and in such a manner, I felt something in my chest loosen. It wasn't that the hatred had dissipated, but rather that a long-suppressed emotion had finally been released. I turned off the live stream, walked into the bathroom, and stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. The woman in the mirror was 32 years old, barefaced, with her hair casually tied back, wearing a pilled hoodie, but her eyes were bright, like freshly cleaned window panes, clearly revealing the person living inside, a person who was no longer afraid. My phone vibrated. Li Guanfeng sent a message. "Plan B is ready, awaiting your command." I stared at the message, my fingers hovering above the screen. The call from Dinghui Capital, the security hardening contract, the nullification of the non-compete agreement, and the public clarification. All of these were part of Plan A. Plan B was different. It was my last resort, prepared for myself, and would only be activated in the worst-case scenario. Now it seemed unnecessary. I typed 2 words and sent them. Pause. Then I turned off my phone, walked into the bedroom, pulled open the curtains, and let the sunlight spread across the entire bed. I lay down, closed my eyes, and in the morning light, fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up 3 hours later, there were 4 to 7 unread messages on my phone. 4 to 5 of them were unimportant. One was from Lin Yu saying, "Su Wan, you're amazing," and another was from Zhu Mingyuan, with just 4 words, "Chen Rui is gone." I didn't reply. I washed my face, changed into clean clothes, and called a ride-hailing car. The destination wasn't Shunghang, not a law firm, not an investment company. It was a very ordinary cafe, tucked away at a corner of University Road, because 3 months ago, when I was still writing code in this rented apartment until the early hours of the morning, I had posted a handwritten job advertisement on the window of that cafe. "Today at 3 in the afternoon, 7 people are coming for interviews. My company is about to open for business." The cafe at the corner of University Road is called Time Gatherer. Its storefront is small, with dark brown wooden door frames covered in ivy. I arrived at 2:40 p.m., 20 minutes early. The owner recognized me, smiled, and pointed to the table by the window in the corner. On that table sat a small, handwritten sign that read, "Reserved, 3 months ago." At this very table, I typed out the first line of code for those 3 systems, word by word, on a laptop that was nearly out of battery. I ordered a hot Americano, opened the folder I had brought with me, and laid out 7 resumes on the table. The first to arrive was Lin Yu. She was wearing a goose-yellow dress, her hair newly permed into curls, looking like a completely different woman from the one whose voice had trembled on the phone last night. She sat down across from me, and her first words were, "I've resigned." "When did you resign?" "This morning, right after the morning meeting." I handed in my resignation letter. She pulled a piece of paper from her bag, a resignation application approved with Zhu Mingyuan's signature. He waived the non-compete agreement and gave me N+3 as severance. "Su Wan, I took a gamble." "A gamble on what?" "I bet you'll definitely start a company. I bet you'll definitely need people. I bet the spot beside you will be reserved for those who didn't walk away when you were at your lowest." I looked at her, saying nothing, but I knew I was smiling, because her eyes lit up. "Are you interested in the position of marketing director?" I asked. "Do you think I studied marketing for nothing?" Lin Yu put away her resignation letter, took out a resume she had prepared herself from her bag, 3 times thicker than the one I had seen on the job recruitment website, and said, "This is a summary of my work achievements and client feedback over the past 3 years. Take your time to look through it." When the second person arrived, I was looking at a project case in Lin Yu's resume. I looked up and saw Liu Zhongwo standing at the entrance of the cafe, holding a laptop bag in his hand and wearing a neatly ironed dark blue polo shirt. He sat down next to me, and the first thing he did wasn't to speak, but to open his laptop bag, take out a printed technical proposal, and hand it to me with both hands. Su WN, this is a cloud-native architecture solution I've been working on over the past 6 months. Could you take a look at it for me? As I opened the first page, I was stunned. This wasn't an ordinary technical proposal, but a complete enterprise-level middle platform architecture, covering all key aspects. From data governance to business middle platform, from DevOps to security compliance. Moreover, every page included detailed code examples and deployment documentation. It wasn't just a conceptual PowerPoint presentation, it was a practical engineering solution that could actually be implemented. How long have you been working on this? I asked. I started 3 months after you left, Liu Zhongwo said, his voice soft but steady. The night you left, I sat alone in the server room for a long time. I kept thinking, if Su WN ever came back, what could I show her to prove that I'm not just someone who hides behind a desk pretending to answer calls? I flipped to the last page of the proposal and saw a line of handwritten text in small print, dedicated to all the underestimated tech professionals. Technical partner, I said, you decide the title and the equity. Liu Zhongwo lowered his head and wiped the corner of his eye with his finger. Lin Yu pretended to be looking out the window, but the corners of her mouth were trembling slightly. The 3rd to 7th people arrived one after another. There were product managers, front-end engineers, and operations leads. Each of them was someone I had gotten to know over the past 6 months through various channels. Some I had sought out myself, while others had come to me after hearing about my situation. They all shared one thing in common. To varying degrees, they had been mistreated, underestimated, or betrayed by their previous employers. Some had been given disguised pay cuts because of pregnancy. Some had been unfairly treated for refusing to help their bosses cook the books. Some had been ostracized by colleagues for being too skilled technically, and some had simply been kicked out for not being obedient enough. I had them sit around the long table in the cafe, with a cup of coffee in front of each person. Then I stood up and looked at them. You may have already heard that early this morning, Shengheng Technologies' system crashed. All 7 of them looked at me, no one saying a word. I fixed it for them. The fee was 35 million. The cafe fell silent for a moment, then Lin Yu was the first to break into applause. Her clapping was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, sending ripples outward in concentric circles, and everyone else joined in, clapping along. I waited for the applause to die down before continuing. But those 35 million aren't what I want most. What I want most is the confirmation letter invalidating the non-compete agreement. From today onward, I can stand here openly and, together with all of you, do something that truly belongs to us. I took a contract from the folder and placed it in the center of the table. The company is called Restart Technology. The registered capital is 5 million, with me contributing 60%, and the remaining 40% allocated based on each of your abilities and contributions. The contract is here. You can take your time to review it, no need to rush to sign, but there's one thing I want to make clear first. I glanced around at everyone's faces. The first rule of this company is not KPIs, not 996, not overtime culture. The first rule is that no one, at any time, can be treated as a tool. The air fell silent for a few seconds. I know this might sound abstract, I said, but I've experienced what it feels like to be used as a tool and then discarded. I swear I won't let anyone in this company go through the same thing. You are not my tools. You are my partners. When we make money, we share it together. When problems arise, I'll be the first to take responsibility. It's that simple. Liu Zhongwo was the first to pick up the pen and sign the contract, then Lin Yu, followed by the others. The sound of pens scratching across paper was soft yet clear, like spring rain falling on fresh leaves. I was the last to sign my name. Then I put away the contract and raised my coffee cup. To a fresh start, to a fresh start. The 7 of them said in unison. We stayed at the cafe until 6 in the evening, going over the company's organizational structure, product roadmap, and market strategy from start to finish. By the time the meeting ended, the sky was ablaze with sunset, dyeing the entire University Road in shades of orange and red. Standing at the entrance of the cafe, I watched the 7 of them walk off in different directions, and a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time welled up inside me. Not excitement, not nervousness, but a steady, weighty certainty. The following month felt like it had been put on fast forward. Restart Technology received the term sheet from Dinghui Capital, with terms even better than what Chen Weiyuan had promised over the phone. During their due diligence, they discovered that the technical architecture of my 3 systems was at least a year ahead of most similar products on the market, especially in terms of data consistency and high concurrency processing. Where they could hardly find a match, we are willing to increase your valuation by 30% above the original basis, Chen Weiyuan said during the video conference, causing Lin Yu, who was sitting beside me, to nearly spill her coffee onto the keyboard. Zhu Mingyuan's company experienced a rollercoaster ride in its stock price during the 3rd week after going public. It opened with a 12% surge, then began to decline due to an anonymous report, hitting its lowest point below the issue price. The report wasn't about a system crash but about turmoil within Shenghang's core technical team, accompanied by a photo of Chen Rui leaving the office with a cardboard box when he resigned. I didn't comment on this report, not because I didn't want to, but because it wasn't necessary. Some bullets don't need you to pull the trigger. Time will let them fly on their own. I only learned about Chen Rui's whereabouts a month later. He had signed Shenghang's confidentiality and severance agreements, received a sum of money, and moved to a second-tier city in the south, where he became the technical director at a small outsourcing company. It was said that his resume upon joining listed him as the former core technical lead at Shenghang Technology. With no mention of the logic bomb or the misappropriation of funds, Zhu Mingyuan didn't report him to the police. It wasn't out of mercy, but out of fear. Once an investigation was launched, all evidence would be uncovered, including the bank transactions pointing to Zhao Yaru. He chose to buy Chen Rui's silence with money, just as he had bought mine a year earlier. The difference is that this fish, have already swum into waters beyond his reach. What truly surprised me was the email I received a month later. The sender was Zhao Yaru, Zhu Mingyuan's wife. The body of the email contained only 3 lines. MS, Su Wn, I would like to meet you. It's not about Zhu Mingyuan, but about something personal to me. Next Monday at 3 p.m., at the same cafe, I'll be waiting for you. I stared at that email for a long time, then replied with a single word, okay. The day we met, Zhao Yaru was far more ordinary than I had imagined. In her early 40s, she appeared without makeup, wearing a grey linen shirt, sitting in a corner of the cafe with a cup of Earl Grey tea that had long gone cold in front of her. I sat down opposite her. She looked up at me, with deep dark circles under her eyes. The money Chen Rui gave me, I haven't touched a single cent. That was the first thing she said. I didn't speak. The money sat in my account for 8 months. I didn't transfer it, withdraw any cash, or even calculate the interest. Her voice was flat, as if reading a statement. I've organized all the account information and transaction records. You can show them to anyone. Why? Because last year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. It took over half a year. Lying in the hospital bed, I thought about a lot of things. Her fingers slowly traced the rim of the teacup. I remembered marrying Zhu Mingyuan 20 years ago, when he said he would treat me well for the rest of his life. I remembered forgiving him 10 years ago when he first cheated on me. I remembered 5 years ago when he changed the company's legal representative to my name, saying it was a sign of trust. And I remembered a year ago when he asked me to register that company in the Cayman Islands, saying it was just for tax avoidance. She paused, then looked up at me. Su Wn, I'm not a good person. I knew about Chen Rui embezzling company funds. I didn't stop him. In fact, I even helped him transfer the money. But I want you to know, it wasn't for the money, it was because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that once he realized I was no longer useful, he'd discard me just like he did you. An old song played in the cafe, its melody soft, like the sound of distant waves. So, what do you want me to do? I asked. I want you to help me leave him, Zhao Yaru said, her voice trembling for the first time. I don't want his money, his company, or anything else. I only want a clean divorce agreement and a chance to start over. But I know that if I go to talk to him myself, he'll use every means to destroy me. I need someone behind me, so he won't dare to act recklessly. I looked into her eyes. There was fear and exhaustion in them, but also a resolute quality, like bare branches in winter, stripped of leaves, yet capable of withstanding wind and snow. I can help you, I said, but not because I pity you. It's because everyone trapped by Ju Mingyuan has the right to break free. After you walk out, living your life in your own way is the best answer to the past. Zhao Yaru's eyes reddened. She lowered her head, quickly wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, then looked up again and nodded. Thank you. I didn't say you're welcome, because I helped her not for her gratitude, but to prove one thing: a person who has made mistakes can choose to turn back. And whether I give that chance or not is my own choice. 1 month later, Zhao Yaru and Ju Mingyuan signed their divorce agreement. She gave up all marital assets, taking only a 5-year-old car and a bank card with less than 200,000 yuan in savings. In return, Ju Mingyuan relinquished his right to pursue legal action against her Cayman Islands registered company and provided a written promise not to interfere with her future life. On the day she left, she sent me a message: I'm going back to my hometown. My mom planted a loquat tree in the yard, and it bore fruit this year. When you come, I'll pick some for you to eat. I replied with a smiley face. The invitation to Shenghang's IPO celebration banquet arrived in my hands 3 days before the event. The gilded invitation card featured Shenghang Technologies logo on the cover, with the inside page reading, "Special guest, MS, Su Wn." I know this wasn't Ju Mingyuan's intention. It was his PR team that, when drafting the guest list, included all technical personnel who contributed to the core system, and my name happened to be on that list. Lin Yu asked me if I wanted to go. I said yes. Ah. You crazy? Lin Yu widened her eyes. What are you going to do? Cause a scene? I'm going to eat, I said. By the way, let's see what the last few steps look like for someone falling from a height. The celebration banquet was held at a 5-star hotel in the city center: crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and a live band. All exuded the scent of money and success. I wore a black dress, light makeup, and my hair was loose over my shoulders. As I entered the banquet hall, several people turned to look at me, then quickly averted their eyes. They recognized me, but didn't know how to face me. Ju Mingyuan stood beside the main table, holding a glass of champagne, talking to a middle-aged man in a grey suit. The moment he saw me, his smile froze for about a fraction of a second, then quickly returned to normal. He walked towards me, his hand holding the wine glass trembling slightly. Su Wn, thank you for coming, Mr. Ju. Congratulations on the listing. I raised the juice in my hand and clinked glasses with him. We stood facing each other, with people around us glancing over subtly. The air was filled with a delicate tension, like the sultry calm before a storm. How have you been lately? He asked. Great. The company just closed its Series A round, and its valuation is a bit higher than the market cap on your IPO day. I said this quietly, but loud enough for those nearby to hear. Ju Mingyuan's face twitched. He clearly already knew the news. After Shenghang went public, its market capitalization was 2 billion, while Restart Technologies' Series A valuation stood at 5 billion. A company less than 2 months old had a valuation exceeding that of a listed company. Congratulations. Then, his voice was as dry as sandpaper. Thank you, I said. Actually, I came today not only to congratulate you but also to discuss something with you. He looked at me, his eyes filled with caution, tension, and a hint of something I couldn't quite decipher. Mr. Ju, do you know what architecture the core system of Reboot technology is built on? I don't know. It's an upgraded version of your company's old architecture. The underlying logic of the system you paid me 35 million to fix on the eve of its launch. I had already drafted an upgrade plan for it a year ago, but back then, you didn't give me the chance. Ju Mingyuan's face turned completely pale. So you knew from the very beginning that the system would crash. His voice was low, but every word trembled. I knew it would collapse sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to happen on the eve of the IPO. I looked at him and said calmly, those 35 million were the tuition you paid for your arrogance, and the 2.5 billion valuation of Restart Tech. That was the opportunity cost you let slip away with your own hands. I took a sip of juice, placed the glass on the table beside me, then smiled at Ju Mingyuan. Mr. Ju, I don't hate you anymore. He froze. Hating someone is too exhausting. Not worth it. I just wanted you to know that the person you laid off back then wasn't a burden to you. She was your company's greatest asset. You just didn't have what it takes to keep her. After saying this, I turned and walked toward the banquet hall entrance. Behind me came the sound of glasses shattering, followed by gasps rising one after another. I didn't look back, not because I didn't dare, but because I didn't need to. The corridor outside the banquet hall was long, lined with dark red carpet, and a row of floor-to-ceiling mirrors hung on the walls. As I passed the first mirror, I saw the woman inside walking with steady steps, her back straight and unwavering. As I passed the second mirror, I saw a faint smile at the corner of her lips, not one of triumph, but of relief. As I passed the third mirror, I noticed her eyes were slightly reddened, yet not a single tear fell. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside, pressing the button for the first floor. My phone vibrated in my bag, a message from Lin Yu. After you left, Mr. Ju knocked over the champagne tower and fell to the floor. He had to be helped up by his secretary. Do you know what he said? The elevator is descending, and I watched the words on the screen. He said, have I really done so many things wrong? I put my phone away without replying. The elevator doors open, and the hotel lobby is brightly lit. Beyond the revolving doors lies the night of the city. Countless lights are shining in the distance, like a glowing sea. I pushed open the door and stepped into the wind. The sky was dark, but the road was long, and this time, I was walking my own path.